For your Portland Trailblazers. More on that in just a moment. The Big Three plays 10 weeks every summer. They're going to be at Moda Center on July 20th. Tickets are on sale now. And joining us to discuss is Hall of Famer, one of the 50 greatest basketball players of all time, and the commissioner of the Big Three. It's Clyde the Glide Drexler who's back on the show. Clyde, what's up? Good afternoon.
Hey, DJ. How you doing? It's good to be here, and everything is great. Trust me.
All right, first question for you. How is your golf game now that we're entering Masters weekend?
Well, I always get it ready for the Masters. That's what guys get the bug around the Masters. Spring is here. Everybody's trying to dust off the rust in their golf game. And so you got to be ready by the time April rolls around. But it's not bad, DJ. There are good days and bad days, but I love the challenge. I only play about 1 or 2 days a week, and that's plenty enough for me. But I love to practice on a couple of days and just keep it light.
All right, Clyde, I got to get to this Big Three stuff. You are the commissioner of the league, and I'm real curious, as the commissioner of the Big Three, what your duties are, and if you actually get to fine guys. That would be the most fun for me. If guys got out of line, I got to levy some fines and stuff. What are you doing as the commissioner?
Well, I've been a commissioner for 7 years, Dwight. I'm commissioner and part equity owner, but Jeff Quantis and Ice Cube, they're the founders. They're the majority owners, and they're just great guys. They're visionaries. They created a new sport, coached by Hall of Fame NBA players and coached by Hall of Fame in WNBA ladies. Lisa Leslie and Nancy Lieberman have both won championships in our league as coaches. And so the NBA, the Big Three has a lot of NBA players, Hall of Fame coaches like Julius Erving, Dwight, Gary Payton, Rick Barry, George Gervin, Charles Oakley, Michael Cooper. We got some great coaches in our league, and the players are phenomenal. They're ex-NBA players. And so the reason they're still effective is because it's 3-on-3, half court only. And the games, the first 1 to 25 is halftime. They stay on the court, and the game is 50. It ends at 50. So the games, if a team gets hot, like the games can be over in 30 minutes. And we have 6 games every weekend, and it's like a floating festival of good hoops. So if you're a hoop fan, the Big Three is for you. So you have 6 games in every city every week where we go. And I have not seen a group of fans that were not happy after they've seen what the Big Three has to offer.
And Clyde, you're bringing the Big Three to Portland in July, and you mentioned some of the names, coaching and everything. Who's playing this year? Can you give us some names of familiar players that the fans can look forward to seeing in person?
Yeah, Joe Johnson, Jody Meeks, Gerald Green, Michael Beasley, who can play, Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague. We're going to have Greg Monroe. It's a bunch of NBA players, and the reason they're still good, they're in their 30s. Some of them are early 40s, but it's half court, and we only play once a week. So those guys are still very good as they were when they were in their prime, and they are. A lot of them are still in their prime. And we got, our minimum age is 22, so it's not old guys basketball. This is physical 80s basketball, and as commissioner, I kind of help with the officials. And you got to make a real move in the Big Three to get a free throw. You just can't run into people and fall down. That's not basketball. I can't stand that. So you got to make a real move. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of no calls. But for our free throws, you only get one shot. If you make it, it's for 2 points. We got a 4-point circle. If you get fouled shooting the 3-point shot, you get 1 3-point shot. If you make it, it's 3 points. If you miss it, you get nothing. And so our game goes quick. It's evolutionary, it's transformational, but it's played by people I'm the commissioner. The visionaries are from the entertainment industry, and it's just a lot of fun to go to a Big Three event.
Well, Clyde, I'm glad to hear you're helping out the officials because you got a lot of experience in that in the NBA. I know you helped out Jake O'Donnell quite a bit when he was trying to referee the games.
Officials they have a very tough job, but at the end of the day, you don't want them to interfere with the game. That's the bottom line. Let the players decide the game.
So I'm curious now. You got the 3-point line, the 4-point line. have the outside
circle. It's a circle,
okay.
right? 4-point circle, which I'm sure the NBA will adapt because everything we've done from our mental health policy to have ladies coaching men's professional sports. I mean, it's never been done before. So the Big Three provides opportunity for a lot of people.
So now that you got this outside shooting thing going on, have the outside shooters taken over your game the way they have the NBA game, or is there still a place for those post guys that you mentioned?
Oh, and the Big Three, the post guys are in demand because it's 3-on-3. You don't have a lot of help. So if you can dominate in the paint, these guys play for money. The winner makes more than the loser, and if you keep winning, you can win the championship, and that's a bigger pool. So it's all about efficiency. If you shoot a 4-pointer, normally it's because you got a really good 4-point shooter in the circle, and that spreads the defense, right? Because it's only 3-on-3. But the other alternative is if you're behind, trying to catch up. So it's a lot of fun, right? I mean, you got to see it. And at the Big Three event, Ice Cube from his entertainment friends, they're always there, and they may sing your favorite song at a timeout or at halftime. So the music is going constantly. It's real lighthearted, but the competition is fierce.
Okay. Now, you guys tried to offer, I know Ice-T made an offer to Caitlin Clark. I haven't really seen her reply to that or anything. I guess I don't expect her to show up. What would she have done for your league if she had a chance to play in it?
Well, that's a great. That's $1 million question. And the one thing, a woman has never played in a man's league against all men. There's probably a reason for that. You think?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes.
So it's not a shooting contest. Big Three is very physical. So Ice Cube and his business partner Jeff Quanton has put that together. It's interesting from a sports perspective because I've never seen it happen.
All right, now, Clyde, you got this fire rule, and you got to explain that to me now. What is that fire rule all about?
Bring the fire. Say you're coaching, and the referee calls a bad call at the end of the game, and it could cost you the game. You can contest it by throwing your little red flag or hitting the red button, and the two players who are involved go one-on-one. They got to prove it. And if he scores one-on-one, he gets the bucket. If your defensive guy stops him, you get the ball back. So it's called bring the fire. You get one per half. And it only takes 10 seconds, so it's quick and fast.
That sounds great. That'd be fun.
Yeah. And so it gives you an opportunity to contest what you would consider a bad call.
Yeah.
We're talking with the commissioner of the Big Three, Hall of Famer Clyde Drexler, here on the Rip City Drive. Hey, Clyde, we were curious, Dwight and I were talking about this, with the way that the three-point shot has taken over the NBA. If you played in today's game, how do you think that would change the way that you played during your era? Would you take more threes? How do you see that?
Well, we didn't really start shooting threes, Chris, until like 1990. And once we did, we're one of the best in the league at doing that. You had myself, Terry Porter, Danny Ainge, and a lot of other guys who could make three, Drazen Petrovic, Cliff Robinson. So we had a very formidable three-point shooting team once it became a part of the offense. If it was a bigger part of the offense like it is in today's game, I still think efficiency would win over, all those long shots. You shoot them long shots when you're ahead comfortably or if you're tired. You don't start the game shooting all – Steph and Clay are anomalies, and those guys are some of the best to ever do it. Not many other people going to make shots. I mean, Lillard was one of them, but not James Harden for a minute there. But not many people are going to make those shots consistently when it counts. Luka's been pretty good at it, but, I mean, not everybody's going to make those shots. I had more success going by and tearing the rim down. I know I can make that.
Yeah. Clyde, now I want to ask you about a current player. He's on his way to winning maybe his third MVP award. Give me your thoughts on Nikola Jokic.
Jokic he is an anomaly. He is unlike any other player that's ever played in our game. He's good. He's smart. He's tough. He's durable. He doesn't miss many games, Dwight. I love that about him.
Yeah.
And he comes to play each and every night. And here's the thing I love about Jokic. He makes his teammates better. If you're open, he will get you the ball. But if he needs to score, he will take over. That's a really intelligent player who does what he needs to do on a game-by-game basis. He has no set plan. He just comes to play. I love it. He's so good for the game.
Okay, you brought up his durability. What do you think about load management, Clyde?
They can take that and dump it somewhere.
Yeah, I thought you might say that because you played no matter what. You might have missed a practice once in a while, but for the games you showed up, right?
Yeah, let me tell you something. After March, you don't need to practice much. Just stay in shape. But, you go through fall camp and do all that stuff. But after March, it's about staying healthy because you just beat up, right? So if I practice after March, it was a mistake. But before then, I didn't miss many at all. But load management is one of those things where it's baloney. 100% baloney. You signed the contract to play. Try to play 82 games if you can. If not, but the problem is, Dwight, a lot of these guys, I think, when we played, the minute we were up 20, we would tell Rick, hey, let the second unit finish it. So a lot of times you didn't play in the fourth quarter. I mean, I can tell you, when we were good, about 40 games a year, I didn't play in the fourth quarter. So whatever you average, it was basically in three quarters, right? So, but these guys today, they don't do that. They don't sit down and rest and realize that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And that every chance you get to rest is a great opportunity. Let the other guys have that. Give them more experience. It makes you a deeper, more talented team. But I see teams up 20 with 4 minutes to go and their best players are still on the floor. I was like, what is that? And so I don't really get that. I'm not complaining about it, but that's a huge difference than when we played.
All right, Clyde, I hope you're going to be here that night when the Big Three comes to Portland. You better be here because you know what? I miss you, dang it. I wish you were around a little more.
And I come to Portland quite often just to see friends. And, at least every summer I'm going to spend a week or two there. I mean, the Great Northwest is the place to be. And I always love our fans in Portland because when we were good, Dwight, they were our secret weapon. You know that. They were what propelled us to do things that we didn't think were imaginable. And everybody who played against us said, boy, those fans were the best because they were right on us just giving us flack.
All right, the Big Three. Tickets are on sale now. They're going to be at Moda Center July 20th right here in Portland. It's Hall of Famer and Commissioner Clyde Drexler with us. Hey, Clyde, we sure appreciate your time. Thanks, my friend. We look forward to seeing you out here in July.
Anytime, guys. Continue success and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Clyde.
There you go, the one and only Clyde, the Clyde Drexler.
That's nice.
He sounds great, man.
He does.
You got a lot of energy, Godfather.
He does, always did.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here. We're live at Dr. Jack's here for Fan Appreciation Night, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Aaron Harville, brand marketing manager of your Portland Trailblazers here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Dwight and Chad, we're live here at Dr. Jack's as we celebrate Fan Appreciation Night. The Trailblazers have their finale here at home tonight against the Houston Rockets. Tip-off is coming up at 7, and joining us right now is the brand marketing manager from your Portland Trailblazers, Aaron Harville. And Aaron, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks
Hope
for
to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming down. So I love your story. You got to tell us about this transition. You were working and involved at the University of Kentucky, did your undergrad there, but working in the athletics department before you made your transition out to the University of Oregon to do more schooling.
Yeah.
So tell us about that transition.
Yeah, I've always been a sports girly. So I started at the University of Kentucky, worked at Kentucky Athletics. I'm in creative services. It was kind of where I got my start. So doing a lot of graphics and marketing there for a really good team. I started with actually a national championship winning rifle team and then kind of worked my way through a lot of different sports. And then, I moved into part-time after graduating, and then I was just sitting there kind of wondering, like, how do I get into these rooms to make some decisions? I'm just, making graphics, and decided that, I'm going to look for another program that's just as good and kind of rooted in sports. And so I went and looked at University of Oregon Sports Business Program. It's like one of the only programs that has sports marketing and an MBA, so you kind of have 2 in 1, kind of get that specialization. And then I worked with Oregon Athletics while I was getting my schooling done for my MBA.
That is so terrific. Now, when I broke into sports broadcasting probably 25 years ago, it was a much different world, dominated mostly by men. And what I love about now is there's so many opportunities for women in sports, not just broadcasting, but across the board. And for you, what's it like for you to now be in a position where you can be a mentor to some of the young women out there and empower them to help kind of steer them in the direction of being able to do kind of some of the things that you're doing? That's cool.
Yeah, one of the things that really sealed the deal for me coming to Oregon was the director of the program for Warsaw Sports Marketing was a woman. So as I'm talking to her, she's like, I've worked with the NFL and I've done all the things. And I'm like, oh, so I'm doing the right thing and you've been in those same positions. So I really kind of took hold of her story and kind of embraced that. I work with Women of Warsaw. I do a lot of mentoring and giving back. I use a lot of my volunteer community service hours to talk to other students to let them know that you can be a woman and you can be in sports. Just visibility and telling my story.
That's terrific.
The Trailblazers have been so good in the community for years, really. And I think they've been good, too, about not calling too much attention to it, not doing it to get attention, but doing it for the right reasons. How do you guys make decisions on where you go in terms of underrepresented communities, people who might need help? What is that process?
Yeah, we do a lot, and we're really impact-driven. We don't do it for any type of applaud. We do it because it's really just rooted in who we are. We want to be accessible to the community. We want to be out there. We do a lot of supporting small businesses, a lot of collabs. We do restaurant takeovers, and we really have a focus on specific 6 communities. So we work with Hispanic and Latinx, Asian American and Pacific Islander, Black and African American, LGBTQ2SI+, Native American women. So we have specific groups that we focus on, and so we try to make sure, like, what is our why and how are we impacting them when we make decisions to do stuff. So it's kind of like, if there's a reason for it and we feel like there's going to be an impact, then let's go ahead and move forward with it.
But then, Aaron, you have to come up with creative ways to help them, right?
Yes.
And I would imagine that's a challenge.
No, it's actually pretty easy. I think we have a strong fan base that are really supportive of what we're doing, and I think people in Oregon and just in general want to see us kind of give back. So as we're saying, like, hey, outside of basketball, this is what we're doing, they're like, oh, let's go support that. Let's support this business. And I think it kind of helps grow our community and keeps us really strong here in Portland.
Tied into what you're just discussing is your Rip City Summer Series that you guys do, where you're going to do some of those restaurant takeovers and some of the other activities. What are some of the things you have planned? But more importantly, what is Rip City Summer Series for those who don't know?
Yeah, so we tried to find a way for, again, we do so much in the community, but not a lot of people know about it. So we put it under this umbrella called our Rip City Summer Series, so we can tell people, hey, when the summer hits, we are out in the community, and here's what we're doing, and here's where we're at. So we'll start with celebrating Black Music Month in June with our Rip City Vibes. We'll do the Juneteenth Oregon Festival and be out there. Latino Cultural Festival June 30th, and then the Pride Parade and Festival just to cap it off right out the waterfront. So June through July, and then it doesn't end there because we're getting back into September, and we do El Grito right here on our campus. And we're just always looking at ways to, how do we say thank you to the fans that always come to us and celebrate us, and how do we kind of go back out to them so they can be involved in what we're doing.
Okay, and it's Fan Appreciation Night tonight, but it's been Fan Appreciation Week. Somebody out there right now is getting the kids in the car or getting ready to go, getting off work, and they're coming tonight.
Yeah.
What can they expect?
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening. Of course, it's like our big finale. We want everybody here to be able to celebrate their final home game of the season. The first 10,000 fans coming in the door are going to get a special basketball lip balm courtesy of Ticketmaster. So get here early and get that. We have special discounts. We have our Rap Rip City sign. We have faces of Rip City around the arena. So if you've been a fan and you've been in the building all year, then you might see your face on like the wall. That's really exciting. Lots of, performances and exciting things like that. We also are especially celebrating our Rip City United members, our season ticket members,
Sure.
With a special scoop and score. So when the Trailblazers make their first basket and then they get their first steal, then they'll be able to get a scoop of ice cream in the arena. So a couple really fun things, just to say thank you in different ways.
I noticed too last night when I was walking through the arena, I went shopping because I was alerted to some of the discounts that you had on merchandise. I couldn't believe it. Very generous.
Yeah, before tip-off, 40% off for our fans and 50% off for our season ticket members. And, I mean, we always love to see people around repping the Blazers. We see them all over the place, especially in the airport or just walking around, getting off the bus, getting off the Max. So we want everybody to be able to get those really cool items that we've been selling all year and those special collabs that we've done with other businesses. We have some really cool stuff that's only available in arena. So while you're in arena, we want to show you all those things.
That's terrific. I would imagine, too, that you probably get a lot of feedback from fans or the community in terms of when it comes to your Rip City Summer Series or different places where you guys can be in the community. How much feedback do you get from fans who want to offer up ideas and different things that they think might be good for you guys?
Yeah, we listen to them and we kind of plug them in for the next year. So our team is only but so big, and we look at, again, those ways that we can make an impact. So how are we going to be able to impact that specific community? If it's not a large enough impact, then we might not go for it. But we're also trying to build our team around, we know that they need these needs, and how can we kind of extend ourselves that way.
How big is the team that you work on?
My team is a team of 6. So we're kind of getting our niche little focuses. We just reactivated our youth basketball. So we're having youth basketball camps and our kids club. And so we're really kind of diving into those new and those next generation of fans through that youth program. So a lot of work for us.
I love the youth basketball clinics and the camps. I would imagine the parents I've talked to very happy with that, right?
Yeah,
to get a chance to work on your game.
Yeah, our Rip City Hoops is back, and we have 2 amazing coaches, Coach Danielle and Coach Jalen, who have been really taking that under. We haven't seen that program since 2019, kind of right before, COVID. So kind of bringing it back. We know people have been asking where are the teams, how to get involved with the clinics. We've even done specific, just like her game to play, so keeping girls in sports, because we've seen a drop-off of girls that kind of don't extend into team sports. So we're doing what we can to kind of, teach people and get them locked on to basketball, but also that team building and teamwork that you get from a sports team. It's like good to kind of introduce them to that.
So a drop-off in girls' sports in terms of not getting into the team sports.
Yeah, we're trying to, confidence and kind of staying involved in sports. We've seen a lot of statistics that have shown that, girls are falling off of sports. It's not really their interest. Maybe they feel like they don't belong. I mean, we've seen this upward trend of women's sports, but we want to get to those girls and show them, like, if you see me, then you can do this as well. How
many sports did you play growing up?
That's a great question. Maybe 6 or 7. I think I tried a little bit of everything. And then I was a big basketball girl. I played on my first team called the Blue Angels. And then I ran track because the basketball coach was also the track coach. And then I did want to do conditioning, so I did private swimming lessons, swimming and diving to condition for basketball. So kind of getting my foot in a lot of stuff. I was also the only girl on a co-ed soccer team. So just trying a little bit of everything to see what stuck. But ultimately, I'm also artistic. So once I found I can get behind a camera, I can do graphics, I can do the same thing, but also support the sports, I think that's what really my passion is.
What's been one of the biggest things you've learned since you started working with the Trailblazers that maybe you didn't know when you walked in? What's that experience been like?
Yeah, it's been really cool, really just to see the support of this organization. I think this is the time where I've gotten a lot of uplifting and a lot of encouraging things to really show who I am and then kind of give my ideas and pour them out there. But I think the biggest thing I've seen is just, I think the impact of the fans, the fans that really will sit there and tell you, thank you for being here. Thank you for, coming to our community, or we love what you guys do, or I've been a season ticket member for this long, and I'm new to Portland. I've been here for 2 seasons. I've been in Oregon for 4 years, but, I'm just kind of embracing what it is to be a Trailblazer and to be a part of Rip City, and I'm really embracing those from the fan stories.
Well, that's a great point. That's another thing I like that you guys do with the Rip City rallies every year,
because,
obviously the team's located in Portland, but there's so many other communities throughout the state of Oregon that are huge Trailblazer fans. So the fact that you guys make an effort to get out to those smaller communities, either on the coast or eastward into the state, I think that's terrific.
Yeah, and I was actually on that trip last year through September. So 5 straight days going to a different city, ones that really aren't touched. And again, those are the ways where things don't usually happen after school. We're bringing people here to meet the Trailblazers. Like, thanks so much for being here.
How much did you enjoy that trip?
That was about, I think they said that was the longest mileage we've ever been and the longest trip. I think we went all the way down to Southern Oregon and then we worked our way back up and stopped in Cottage Grove before coming back to Portland. But it was just really cool to see those different small communities of Trailblazers.
What would you say is, of all the things that you guys do, like what are you most proud of that you've had a chance to be involved in or in charge of? What is it you're most proud of this year or maybe over the last 18 months?
I've been really excited about our City Edition launches that just happened. The first one being, our PDX jersey last year. I think that's been a fan cry, like, hey, put this pattern on our jersey. It's in the carpet in the airport. And then this year with our plaid, we did a plaid night. We asked our fans for plaid. We took that Keep Portland Weird.
I love the plaid.
Keep Portland plaid. So really just kind of tying into that and honoring Dr. Jack in that way. But really being a part of those full week initiatives, same like our fan appreciation week full of stuff. We did a week full of things leading up to those launches and just getting the fans involved and ready for, you don't know what's coming, but something exciting is coming.
Well, growing up as an NBA fan, I didn't really have my teams wore the same jerseys home and away all the time, and now we've got these with Nike's innovation, the changes in jerseys. What's been the fan reaction to that? They love it?
Yeah, like different collections and knowing that every year I'm going to go get a special jersey just for this season, and I need to get it while it's available so I can represent it. Then the next season is like you see the fans in the one from the previous year, and they're like, oh, I want that. Well, that was last year's special jersey, and then we have other ones. So we have our plain association jerseys, just our regular colors, and then we have a little bit extra for the fans and kind of represent the city and kind of who we are and tell more of our story through those designs.
Now, are those designs and the process for coming up with different ideas for your City Edition, is that an ongoing process?
Yeah, we're like 3 years ahead or something like that already.
Wow.
So.
And they need approval from the league, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through them to make sure everything's all right.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we want to tie into those, and we're pushing those years and years ahead. So lots of collections that are probably finalized and already in production for a lot of years as we're developing new ideas to continue to tell, our fans who we are and to tap into those different pieces of our story.
Which one did you like? Did you like the was it the carpet one from the airport, or did you like the old Portland sign?
Oh, I love the one that said Oregon on it, to tell you the truth. I just love the style, the script style of writing. The warm-ups, the warm-up tops were terrific.
Yeah, they were
nice. They
nice.
were really nice.
Yeah, and I got a really cool PDX carpet jacket from that City Edition launch. I think it's like the best raincoat I've ever had. And you can't come get it now, but it's one of the best jackets. Kind of heavy, kind of puffer, but it has a big PDX on the back of it and has all the Nike and the NBA stuff up and down the sleeve.
That's awesome. We're talking with Aaron Harville of your Portland Trailblazers here on the Rip City Drive. So what else is next? So we talked about the events, but what else are you guys working on right now as you move into the summertime? What are some other things to keep an eye on?
Yeah, really just stay on the lookout for our Rip City Summer Series, and then we're celebrating different heritage months. So next month in May will be Asian American and Pacific Islander Month. We have our restaurant takeovers. We'll do one at Lessamore, one at Makiko Mocho Donuts, May 10th and May 18th. But if you go to trailblazers.com/AAPI, we'll have more things updated. But if you follow any of our stuff on our website, you'll see all the things that we're activating.
I must congratulate you, Aaron, on your success. And it used to be in the old days, and I'm an old guy, we would interview a woman occasionally involved in sports, and she was a pioneer. Now, you're a pioneer to a degree, but at least now you've got role models.
Yes.
You've got somebody that can do that for you. But you must be happy, gratified even, to see so many women just right upstairs in that office. You guys,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing to me.
Yeah, we just celebrate Women's History Month. If you see the picture we took with Jody
I
Allen,
saw it.
that's how many women, probably more, that didn't make the picture, that are here in our organization. That's a really good thing. And my immediate director is a woman, so I'm learning from someone who's also been here. And again, like what I did for my education, I've learned from women, and that's kind of what I'd like to be able to do. Someone that's understood my experience, and I can keep, inspiring others.
How hard was it to get an MBA? Like, how much work?
So much work. Oh my gosh, so much math, so much work. And I'm a creative, so I want to be able to, learn the things I need to do, but also push these innovative ideas because I'm always thinking of the next thing.
But that must have been nice, though, to be creative and be able to use technology to create things is nice. But isn't it nice to be able to be empowered to take ideas and then implement those ideas when you know that they can possibly work?
Yeah, I love a blank canvas. Please give me a blank canvas anytime, and I will just, we'll throw out so many different ideas, large, big, small, whatever.
So,
see.
which part of town did you settle in? Southeast, northeast, north?
I'm in Northwest, industrial kind of Slabtown area.
Sweet.
Really close to the Moda Center, so I want to be close to work, kind of be here, and I'm right on the river, so that's really exciting.
Oh,
That's great.
nice.
That's one thing I love about the Northwest here in town. He and I have lived all over too, but Northwest has got its own flavor. Northeast, Southeast, it's all different, in terms of the different vibe that Portland provides.
And I love the water. Like I love that I'm so close to the coast. We can drive to the coast, and I love that I can wake up in the morning, walk my dog, and sit by the river. Like, just being able to breathe that all in. I didn't get that. I'm originally from Georgia, so you can imagine like being able to have this type of atmosphere, and it's not too hot, but it's really breezy out here. I love Pacific.
Yesterday was National Pet Day. What kind of dog do you have?
She's a Jack Russell Beagle. Her name is Bourbon. I got her from Kentucky.
What's
so
up, Bourbon?
It's got to be named Bourbon.
I named
She's
her after
from
the Kentucky
Kentucky.
Bourbon Trail. So yeah, her name is Bourbon. Little Jack Russell Beagle.
Were you into horses when you were younger too?
No, not so much.
Not so much, yeah.
I did like a YMCA horseback riding camp, and my horse ventured off. I haven't tried that again.
That's great because he mentioned Sam Bowie, who went to Kentucky, drafted by the Trailblazers. After he was done playing basketball, he's now into the horse game back in Kentucky.
That was a really big thing. You would go to the horse races, and then you would go to a football game or a basketball game.
Did you go to the Derby?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I went to the Derby. I had a big hat to prove it.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, Aaron Harville, brand marketing manager for the Trailblazers, stopping by and joining us here at Dr. Jack's. Aaron, we appreciate your time. Congrats on your work, and we look forward to a Rip City Summer Series coming soon.
Of course. Thank y'all so much.
All right, it is Fan Appreciation Night here at Moda Center. Dwight and Chad live here from Dr. Jack's. Tip-off with the Blazers and Rockets at 7. All right, Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad. We are live here at Dr. Jack's, getting ready for Fan Appreciation Night. And I appreciated myself by booking multiple tea times next week, Godfather, so I'm ready to roll.
That's Chad Appreciation Week right there.
Yes, Chad Appreciation Week. So I've got to ask a question. How many pounds has Bryson DeChambeau lost?
They're saying 40. I think he was at 245, and he's down now about 210. So somewhere in that neighborhood,
Well, I want to read this to you. Right now he is just 2 shots off the pace. Scotty Scheffler is your leader at 8 under. DeChambeau is 2 shots off the pace. He had a final round of 65 in round 1, and he was 1 over on the day. So 2 shots off the pace. But in regards to his diet, he says, quote, a lot of diet changes in eating, a lot of going down to 5,000 calories, down to 2,900, whatever it is now. Eating properly instead of eating stuff that inflames my body. I took a Zoomer peptide test, which essentially tells you what inflames your body when you eat it. I was allergic to corn, wheat, gluten, dairy, pretty much everything I liked. I couldn't eat. I took that out, started taking it out in August, and over the course of time, I've lost all this inflammation, lost a lot of fat, and slimmed down like crazy. I lost 18 pounds in 24 days. It was crazy. It wasn't fat. It was all water weight. You know how I looked before. I was not skinny. The physical changes, of course, can be jarring, but I'm happy for him. I'm a big believer in taking care of your body and finding, the right nutrition that works for you. And I don't think DeChambeau looks weird at all. I think he looks healthy. I see it in my eyes, too. And he's playing well.
he looks more like a golfer now, to tell you the truth. He looked like a weightlifter before. I think he was on the juice, to tell you the truth. I think that's how he gained so much of that weight so quick. And it was all muscle. I mean, he was an incredible sight. I saw him, when he was that big, and it was, good God, he looked like a pro football player.
Was he out there at that event you saw?
Live.
Yeah.
And he was a big boy.
So pretty ripped, stacked.
Yeah.
In person.
Sure looked that way. I didn't see him with his shirt off or anything, but yeah, and I think now he's finding out his flexibility is better. He feels better. He's moving better. And you know what? I'll tell you what else, Chad. Watching yesterday, I had a chance to watch a lot of the tournament, and I watched a replay last night. He's a different person, too. You can tell. He's taking things easier now. He was always so tight. He was always just on edge, and he was better with fans. He was signing a lot of autographs. He was laughing. He had an interview in Butler Cabin where he was very, very open and honest and again, funny. I tell you something, he's such an amazing guy. People don't know what a brain he is. He's an incredible brain. He uses that one plane swing. All his clubs are the same length. Believe it or not, he's playing in the Masters with a set of irons that he designed and made himself with a 3D printer. He made his irons with a 3D printer, and he finally got the PGA to okay them. They have to run, tests on them and everything to make sure everything's legal with them. They're okay. He's using them right now.
That's truly impressive.
Gosh.
So are you suggesting that I should maybe forgive Bryson for his activities of the past? Because I got hung up when I forgot the tournament, but he was having a bad round.
Yeah.
And he started getting really frustrated and then started complaining about the fact that the cameras were on him.
Yes.
And I'm like, wait a second. Typical athlete where they want the money and the fame and they want all the accolades when things are going well. But when things go sideways, they don't want to answer questions. They don't want the cameras around. It's like you can't have it both ways. You chose this life. You want to be a big-time golfer and a superstar, make that type of money. You've got to be willing to walk through it with both the good and the bad. I will say this. His YouTube channel is terrific, and I like it when he goes out on the course with either a different lady that he comes across or maybe it's a male golfer, a different athlete. He'll go out there and play golf with them and give strokes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He's very engaging on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So the more I've seen of him of late, I'm like, I like that Bryson. I don't like the Bryson of the past. So maybe you're right. Maybe the diet changes and just, it is sometimes when you're young and you get in the game, you approach it one way, but then with time and experience, you're like, you know what? I got to dial it back a little bit or I'm not going to survive.
Yeah, I think he's kind of learned some lessons, it appears. And I think, I think you should be open to giving him another chance, Chad. I'm still not sold. You see him this one week, and he when I saw him being interviewed, heck, he was leading the tournament, and that changes the guy's outlook too. Let's see what happens if he loses by 5 strokes or whatever. But the same thing that turned you off turned me off, because when he came out, I was his biggest fan just because of all the knowledge he dropped. And then that one plane swing, I experimented with that for a while myself. I can't think of the guy's name now. The old-time Canadian golfer did it and was tremendously successful. And I just liked his ingenuity and the way he was going about playing the game. He was so exact with everything, and I admired that. But then he started acting out, and it was like, no. You're making your living doing this. The media, the fans, they're your friends. They're paying your salary. Shape up a little bit, pal, because he was pretty rude. He was rude to everybody there for a while, but I didn't see that yesterday at all. So
he's turning a corner.
Yeah, maybe so. And I'll tell you, yesterday his golf game was impeccable. But of course, he's in an era now where he's got to play Scheffler, and Scheffler went through all day yesterday without a bogey. At the Masters, that's a pretty good thing to do.
First round 65. He was 1 over today, and right now he sits a couple of shots off the pace. Scheffler's dropped back now. He's even on the days, so you've got a three-way tie. Max Homa, Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, 6 under par. Right now, Scheffler is even on the day through 14. So this is shaping up to be a very good weekend of activity for golfers, because we got some big names there, and Tiger is going to make the cut. So
yeah,
he
is. Yeah, and Max Homa is a guy that he's under the radar. He's won some tournaments. It's not like he's a winless guy. He's won out there, and a lot of people think he's ready to win a major. He's really consistent and solid. I like him a lot, and he was playing with Tiger yesterday and today too, I believe, and that brings its own pressure. When you're playing with him and there's all those people there, he handled it great.
And props to Tiger for getting through the rest of round 1 today, finishing out round 2. He's going to make another cut, and that's impressive that physically he was able to hold up.
He had to play 5 of yesterday's 18 this morning, early. I mean, they were out there at 7:40, and it was still chilly. It was cold. It was a little windy. And he's out there, and they said, he's not walking so good this morning. But he loosened up. I think he got out there. He got moving. He loosened up. That's a great sign for Tiger that he could survive today and still make the cut.
And that's big for the tournament to have him around for the weekend.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And I hope he can get through Saturday with no issues and no flare-ups, so that way he's around on Sunday.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he was. He probably is not going to be a factor in winning it, but if he's involved at all, if he's close, that's where the eyeballs are going to go.
Well, the key for Tiger is that if these guys at the top can't create more separation, and Tiger enters the final round at, even par or 1 under to where he's within some type of striking distance, then that's where, the adrenaline gets pumping, and, he can still swing the golf club. It's just a matter of health and movement.
Yeah, it depends on how many are ahead of him, too. You can always overhaul that one guy who's kind of choking anyway. Yeah. But when you have 2 or 3 quality guys like this, DeChambeau, Scheffler, and Homa in the lead, one of those guys is not going to drop back too much, I would say.
All right, I'm going to ask you again. I'm done asking you about the house you sold down in Arizona, which was a mistake.
Oh, God, here we go again.
I'm not going to bring that up again. So when are you and Nancy going to go to the Masters? You're not getting any younger, man. Get on that. There's no excuse for you not to go. I got to live vicariously through you.
I'm getting younger every day, Chad. Aren't you noticing?
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's on the schedule. It's on the schedule.
All right.
It's
you got to make that happen.
I know. It's just a tough one. When you start booking things and realize how expensive it is, man, I mean, getting someplace to stay down there, you almost have to stay in Atlanta even to find a place and then make that drive. And you probably wouldn't go more than 2 days at the most. You really wouldn't want to do that.
I need you to be down there walking the course, telling me how beautiful it is, and then eating one of their ice cream sandwiches for $1.50.
Well, that's the easy part. I can handle the ice cream sandwich. I guarantee you that. Especially, I'll eat there all day long for those prices. That's for sure.
All right, it's the Rip City Drive. We're live here at Dr. Jack's Fan Appreciation Night at Moda Center. Rockets are in town. Tip-off is at 7 right here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, round 2 of the Masters. We have a 3-way tie atop the leaderboard. Max Homa, Bryson DeChambeau, and Scotty Scheffler are 6 under. Homa shot a second-round 71. DeChambeau 1 over 73, and right now Scotty Scheffler is even par through 15. Tiger Woods will make the cut. He is +1 after 2 rounds, and Phil Mickelson is +2. Trailblazers in action tonight. Fan Appreciation Night. The Rockets are in town. Final home game of the year. Tip at 7 right here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. We are live from Dr. Jack's from now until 6 o'clock. Alex Sarr, projected top 3 pick, is declared for the NBA draft, as has UConn center Donovan Clingan. Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, Ippy Mizuhara, has turned himself into the feds. Bond set at $25,000. He's facing bank fraud charges, which could bring a penalty of 30 years in prison. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. I was just down at Power Buick GMC of Salem today, and they set me up with a absolutely dope GMC truck. Diesel. It's got all the trimmings. Everything you need is inside of that truck. I was afraid to drive it again, Godfather. I just can't wait for Isaac to see it.
Trucks are really comfortable nowadays, too. They're not like the old trucks used to be.
Yeah, it's not like my grandpa's truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because see the price tag on them? They're luxury vehicles nowadays.
Luxury vehicles.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. Chris Burkhardt is with us. Chris, what's up, buddy?
No, just here to enjoy the last home game of the season, this journey that you and I have been on together.
Long.
Yes, long.
6-month journey that's about to come to an end as of Sunday. I want to get your guys' take on this. The Trailblazers are getting ready to end the season. They've got 2 picks in the first round in the upcoming draft. They've got 2 second-round picks. This year's draft, considered by all experts, GMs, everyone around the league to be very weak, one of the weakest of all time. Next year's draft, which will include Cooper Flagg, is considered to be a phenomenal draft with 4 or 5 players at the top that would be taken ahead of anyone else that's in the draft this year. With where the Trailblazers are at right now, wouldn't it make sense to have another development year so you can put yourself in a position to have access to one of those top players in next year's draft based on where they're at and what they need to do to take the next step? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world, Chad. I would actually be thinking about packaging some of those picks with a player you're probably going to trade anyway and see what you can get for it. And I would be trying to get next year picks more than players even. I think they have young players they like that they want to try and develop. I don't know if throwing more young players on this roster would complicate matters even more, but I would just say try to accumulate as many picks for next year as you can, because there are 4 or 5 players. We're going to see a lot of them right here in Portland tomorrow night in that USA versus the World game. Cooper Flagg is going to play in that game, and if you haven't seen him, folks, get a ticket and go to this game because he's really something.
And then, of course, he'll be on TV every single time he plays next year with Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm torn because I just don't know if I could mentally take another year of bad basketball. But it's one of those things that if you're trying to truly rebuild, that's kind of what you have to do. And you have to understand that building is going to happen through the draft. And talking to Casey Holdall yesterday on the pregame show, and he brought up a good point that I don't think enough people are thinking about. But not only in this draft is this draft, by, like you said, all expert accounts, weak, you got to think about the financial slot that those guys are going to pick up too. Yeah. Like if the guy that's, say the Blazers that do end up with the 5th pick, or they jump in and they get into top 3, is the guy that you select at 3 worth the 10, 12, $13 million a year? Is that the type of money you'd pay that talent on the free agent market? That matters right now, too. So there's a lot of factors in looking to next year's draft, deciding what to do with these picks, and kind of like Dwight said, maybe getting out of this draft and using some of your talent and your contracts that you have to bring in more picks for the future.
I mean, isn't this how a rebuild looks? It gets messy, right?
Oh, big
well,
time.
Yeah, they've never really bottomed out. They didn't bottom out this year. You wouldn't bring in guys like Brogdon and Ayton and have Grant here and all that. Most of the teams who've done it, boy, they go down to the studs. I mean, they take it all the way down, and you almost have to do that to really clear the decks to give playing time for the young guys and to stay in a position where you're going to get another good draft pick.
Well,
and let's face it, you got to. There's going to be more than this team chasing that top pick next year.
Yeah, well, look at Detroit. They tore that thing down to the studs and then some. That was like all the rookies, and let's go out there and see what happens. And they just
76ers too, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Trust the process. At least they built it as something. It wasn't just a rebuild. It was, something they could market behind. But still, you're right.
And they did it long enough to where they finally got what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
They finally ended up, and they had a couple of miscues, too, which you don't want to do. But they finally got Embiid, and that's what it was all about.
I would say also, too, Dwight, a good point there with the 76ers is they did have a couple miscues, but they were smart enough to move off of them as quick as possible to try to recoup anything that they could get back from them. This is a smart move. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, they did a nice job with that.
Yeah, put that headset on, my friend. Mark Mason, the voice of Moda Center. Long time no see. What's up, brother?
How you doing, Chad? Hey, Dwight.
Good to see you, Mark.
Good to see you guys.
I know that voice anywhere.
Yes. Oh, well, thanks.
All right, getting geared up. Nice jacket. Getting geared up for Fan Appreciation Night tonight.
Yes, this is it.
That is a nice jacket.
You know what? This is one of the least expensive jackets they sell in there. That's why I bought it.
You didn't get it for – wait a minute. You didn't get it for free?
No, I buy all my jackets. Are you kidding me?
My.
After the game, I sit there and go, okay, what am I going to spend the money I made tonight on?
Right.
How's the season going for you?
It's over after tonight. And that's it. That's how the season's going.
That's right.
A
lot of new players. You had to get used to their names this year.
Yes.
I like how you say "Scoot."
Yeah.
Big fan of
that.
It
is. It's really. I mean, there's so many new ones and two Frenchmen. So that's having to. My wife speaks French, so she has to teach me how to say it just right. When we do the intros.
I've been wanting to ask you, what's the transition been like for you? Because you're a radio icon legend here in Portland. You were in the business for how many years did you do daily radio?
40.
Yeah,
40 years. Yeah.
How
not
difficult?
all here, but
how's the transition been from doing it every day to now just getting behind the mic at Moda Center for home games?
Oh no, it's nothing changes. Nothing changes. I enjoy it. They were so different. The two jobs are so different than from each other. So Moda is always an exceptional experience. It's always fun. Just did the NCAA women's.
Yeah,
that was hard. I was really out of my element for a while.
Why was it so hard, Mark?
First of all, you don't know the names. You don't know the players. And you sit there and I watch video of them and I listen to games and watch games so I could hear the pronunciations of the names. And, along the way, a couple slipped through and I'd muff them. And I feel bad because this is their Sweet 16 moment. And I wanted to make sure everything was perfect for them because I always picture their parents sitting in the stands, and you want to build it up for them and everything else. I didn't completely blow it up, but there are those moments you get down on yourself, you get mad at yourself, and then it's the pace of the game that's so different.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there during the first 4 games. We had 2 games in one day. That's hard to do. It's just it's a lot of concentration, but it felt to me like a video game, like I was doing the video game for NBA 2K, because you don't want to play one side too favorite off the other, but if they're one side's playing lights out, you got to give them their cred, and pump it up, get the crowd into it, and then the other side, may pick it up and they get so you're really just kind of reacting to every moment. It didn't take till it was about the 5th game where I finally got into the flow of the whole thing, and I thought, okay, now I know what I'm doing, and I could enjoy myself.
I'm curious. You did the women's regional. I'm curious, how many other events besides the Blazers do you catch? Like, for instance, you're doing tomorrow night's game with
the Hoop Summit.
The Hoop Summit.
Both of them. Yeah, that'll be the last one of the year. That'll be it.
How much study did you put on those names?
I'm working on it today. I've got them all there, but there's not a lot of information you get. You can't go look up online games where they're playing. Sometimes you can, but there's not a lot of high school video out there where an announcer is saying the name and you can get it right. So tomorrow I'll get here early, and the guys are always practicing, and I always kind of just try and pull them aside on the court and say, how do you say this? But I looked at it today. We have 2 games, so we have 4 teams, And even on the American side, on the USA side, there's a lot of hard names in there. I'm going like, oh, my God, I'm going to be really busy. So.
Just get Cooper Flag correct, because you'll be saying it the most.
Wouldn't that be fun? So, we'll buff him out real well.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's amazing how many of those guys. I went back and looked at old rosters today of games that I've called. And I'll go, oh my God, that guy was here, really? Oh my God, Luka Doncic. Oh yeah, but I don't remember when he was just a high school kid coming through. But there were some big names, and on this list, I go, I wonder who the NBA stars of tomorrow are going to be off this list, and WNBA.
Yeah,
because the women's game, I'm looking forward to as much as the men's game. I really got a lot of respect for the ladies after doing the regionals. It's a different kind of basketball. I described it as organic. Because we're kind of seeing it maybe in its infancy before it really blows up and becomes super huge. I know it's worldwide, international popularity for women's basketball.
Well, I think all three of us watch more women's basketball during the course of this season and in the tournament than ever before because of the stars.
Yeah, it was fun. But who's Dwight knows who the stars are next year. I don't know who they're going to be.
No, I don't.
I mean, we're losing Cameron Brink. Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers. They were so much fun.
Paige Becker's going to come back.
She'll be back. And you got Juju from USC.
Yeah, Juju. Yeah.
And you got to see both of them at Moda.
Oh yeah, it was so fun. It was amazing. Paige Beckers was like,
she's terrific.
I mean, her body twisted and turned and made shots like a contortionist.
That's coming off an ACL injury, missing a year of hoop. Mm-hmm. Pretty incredible what she does.
Yeah, so that was fun. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing that grow.
What's been the hardest name? Is there a name that comes to mind in terms of pronunciation on the mic when you're at Moda Center doing a Blazer game over the years that comes to mind? Is the hardest one for you to nail?
No, I don't think so. There's just some of them. I just try and say them so much before the game starts that when I actually do it, it's kind of muscle memory.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
How hard is it for you to hold your tongue when some of the referees make horrible calls or kick somebody out of a game? Isn't it hard to say, why did you do that? Or why, what's going on here?
I've said things, and I just sometimes I go, I hope the mic's off. I hope I turn the microphone off on that one.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, that would, and from my angle, it looks like a foul, and then I'll look at it on the replay on the screen. I go, the referee was right, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm not. It's not. It's not my job to be critical. They get it right most of the time.
Most of the time.
There was this call the other night where I thought, oh no, that went off another person, but it was so early in the game, nobody's going to challenge it, and so. And I tell the guys on my headsets, do a replay of it. Let's see if we can see the replay. Now, I don't control any of that. I'm just suggesting it, and we never got around to seeing it again. But the referees. I try and be their muse, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to relay to the crowd what their call is and everything else. So that's kind of half of my job right there.
And the crowd can react how they choose to react.
Exactly. No.
Have you ever had a case where something went out over the mic where you forgot to turn your mic off?
Yeah. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. It wasn't too bad because we never heard about it, so it couldn't have been too bad.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't bad at all. My face was red and everything else, and I was waiting for it. The crowd was too loud. Nobody, as somebody once said, no, Mark, nobody listens to you in there, so just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm just back. You know what? I'm just background. I'm ambiance. That's what I am.
I'm going to get you a statue for handing the mic to Dame when he yelled Rip City. You deserve a statue for handing the mic to Dame in that moment.
It's funny on the Paul George shot.
Yeah.
When that was going down, he looked over at me, and I held up the microphone and I pointed to it, to do an encore, and he in that big melee dog pile of humans, he shakes his head no. He called it off. But I thought that would have been another perfect one.
Yeah. All right,
Rip
Mark
City
Mason.
All right,
thanks
guys.
for stopping by, buddy.
Hey, it's great to see you guys.
All right, fan appreciation night.
Get
we'll
down
come back
here. We're going to have fun tonight.
We're going to have a good time tonight. Casey Holdog going to stop by next. We're at Dr. Jack's. Chris Burkhardt, Chad doing the Godfather Dwight James here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're live here at Dr. Jack's. Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing, the Godfather Dwight James, as we get ready for Fan Appreciation Night. The Rockets are in town tonight. The Trailblazers will play tonight. They get tomorrow off, and then they will head to Sacramento to take on the Kings on Sunday with the tip-off at 12:30. Casey Holdaw of your Portland Trailblazers is going to join us here in just a minute as we have a chance to talk a little basketball. And we're surrounded by the food, and you guys are starting to be tempted right now, aren't you?
Yes.
It smells so good. It's very, very tempting. We go place an order, and I got plenty of time, so, you know.
I missed lunch today. I'm ready. Yeah, chips and salsa, if nothing else. Right?
Always ready to eat.
Yes.
Well, what a pleasure. Casey Holdaw taking time to stop by and see us.
Late
What's
as
up,
always.
Casey? That's
Late
all
as
right,
always.
buddy.
Sorry, guys.
Into the season jam. We got a lot of different things going on. I wanted to ask you about that exchange with Coach Billups last night after the game. You know, that fourth quarter from like 9 minutes on where the Blazers struggled to score and the turnovers from the young guys. I thought it was interesting when Chauncey, you could see the anguish because they knew that was a game they could have won.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, we got a lot of teaching moments. What was your takeaway from there in terms of what Chauncey's, dealing with? Because I feel like the coaching staff, more teaching this year maybe than coaching because of the young guys.
Absolutely. And, Chad, what kind of strikes me about those situations, too, particularly, being on this last 2-week road trip and just following the team regularly, is that, like, it almost kind of feels like they know it's coming. I think they know that, like, they get to the fourth quarter and it's a close game and like, hey, we're doing okay here. And then I think they know, particularly against some of the teams that are better than them, they know that, like, hey, now the other team is going to they're going to play hard for 10 minutes and then this thing is going to go the way we want it to go. But to your point, yeah, I think the actual teaching element of it is really, I mean, they kind of set that up this season anyways. I mean, they were very kind of forthright about, we like some of the guys we have on our team, but we have a lot of young guys, and this year is going to really be about development, and it obviously has been the case. And, I do think we've seen the team, particularly individuals, make progressions, maybe not on a game-to-game basis, but on a week-to-week basis.
Oh,
so, like,
for sure.
So, like, guys
Yeah.
like Scoot are one of the guys where, like, particularly on that road trip, I would talk to Scoot about, like, I'd watch the game, and I'd maybe bring up one thing where I was like, so the Orlando game was like, you drove in. And then even in the Charlotte game, I was like, Scoot, like, why are you taking free throws so fast? Like, you're getting up to the line, and you're just like, before I even have a chance to say you're at the free throw line, you've already got 2 up. And so I feel like there are things you see throughout the year where you're like, and then the next game, he, instead of driving into the teeth, he pulls up for the mid-range shot, which is like, yeah, that's his shot.
So they're such a young team. You're having to do coaching.
Well, I mean, like, I wouldn't say I'm coaching, but at least I feel like I've done this long enough to where I see things where I'm like, I'm no expert by any stretch, but like,
just curious about
exactly
why you're doing that.
Why is this happening, and like, why, like, have you considered that? And so,
what was his response to the free throws?
He was like, I know. He's like, I was like, do you have a routine? He's like, I do. But it's a pretty fast routine. And I was like, well, you might want to consider, like, taking a breath. Because I had mentioned to him a few months ago, I was like, Scoot, look, you're a young guy. Like, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. There's one mistake I would ask you to not make. When we're on the road in the fourth quarter and you miss 2 free throws and the opposing arena gets Chick-fil-A, there are a few things that piss me off more than when that happens. So you can't miss pairs of free throws in the fourth quarter on the road. Like, you just can't do it. Not even for you. Think about me here. Like, I'm cursing the crowd while they're cheering about getting free chicken sandwiches that I'm not going to get also, by the way. If I did get them, maybe I'd feel a little bit different about it. But, and so for me, it's like, I just bring up things like that because it's like, hey, like, these are just small things that, like, after 17 seasons of watching this team, like, you just kind of, you pick up things that just almost feel like, it's almost like a little itch where you're like, why do I feel that way? And it's like, oh, because I've seen this umpteen times, and now I'm seeing it a little bit different. So.
Okay, so with Scoot, everything I've heard about him, and you would know better because you're with the team all the time, and I want your take on this, his work ethic. He puts in the time. He's dedicated. He's a gym rat. Like, he's obsessed with basketball. I mean, you've seen him. I mean, that's what gives me optimism about a young guy who's struggling at 19, 20 being able to come out of that.
Yeah, and for me, that's one of the things that I feel the best about. One, I feel like he has made some improvements as the season's gone.
Sure.
So you feel good about
question.
that. But also, like, even outside of that, for me, it's more just like he has the right mentality to where, like, there's some guys where that, like, hey, if they hit some hard times, like, there's going to be a problem for this guy, like, and he might not necessarily have the mentality yet to be able to get through this without it being an impediment to his career. And Scoot, like, that's the thing I feel the most confident about him is that, like, I I just feel so strongly in getting to know him a little bit that he just has the right understanding of, like, I get mad when I play poorly, but I understand that I can get better. And does it affect me when I go home? Yeah, it does. And to be perfectly frank, you want guys that it affects them when they go home. But also, I understand that, like, it's a process and I need to get better, and I'm not letting it necessarily weigh on me, but I know that, like, these are things that are important to me, and I want to get better because I want to be better, not because, like, there's money out there or this or that. It's like I have an idea of who I want to be as a player in my head, and I feel strongly that I can get there if I do the right things and if I keep the same mentality that I've had throughout that I've been taught by my parents and my family. And so, you know, those are the parts for me where, like, I feel the most confident about Scoot's future because of who he is. And, like, obviously, you know, like, you see him, he's a great physical specimen. You know, his shot has even made some progress as the season has gone on. Footwork stuff, you still see, like, there was a point in last night's game where he took a three-pointer and, like, his feet were, like, you know, 5 feet apart. And I was like, those are the kind of things that, you know, like, an off-season. And I think that's the other part, too, is that I think we kind of forget that Scoot lost his off-season last year because of that shoulder injury. Yeah. So I think some of the progress he might have been able to make or some of the things he might have been able to work on in the off-season, he just didn't get a chance to, and he had to work through some of that stuff during the season. And then, you know, when you're on a team where it's not like anyone was saying, like, hey, replace Damian Lillard, but the fact of the matter is, like, you're the young point guard, and they just traded the old point guard. And I think there's probably a feeling where it's like there's probably a bit of pressure there, even if you don't put it on yourself, you know? Yeah. And so then to go for it, to have that, and then to not maybe get as much work in the offseason as you would have liked. And then, you know, you have Ant go down in the first game. So the guy that's maybe going to kind of help you along a little bit, he's out. And then Diego's down. And so the guy you kind of maybe could rely on to get the ball into a little bit when things are getting tough, that goes away too. And then you're out there, you know, like, trying to make things happen, and then Shane gets injured, and so, you know, there's a lot of things going on there, but his mentality is the reason why I feel most confident in what his career is going to be here in Portland.
Yes. Speaking of Dame for a sec there, I mean, when Dame's here, you knew what was going to happen. You knew the storylines all year long, and you didn't get to see the young guys develop, right? Now you do. You get to see Scoot. You were never going to watch Dame take a three-pointer and be like, man, what was up with your feet, Dame, right?
Yeah.
But now you get to see those things. So from your perspective, just how kind of challenging but refreshing is it to see those things and get to pick those apart?
It's not challenging at all, actually. It's great. Like, and I was talking to someone about this the other day. It's like, yeah, would the team be better, or would they have more wins at least, if as currently constructed? It's like, yeah, but I was like, how many more stories about Damian Lillard can I write? You know, So, like, if from a person in my position at least, like, it's actually more beneficial to have a team where it's like, no, there's a lot of new guys, and yeah, you know, are we winning as much as we'd like? No. And are people able to see the games as much as we'd like? No. But, like, at least in terms of, like, my day-to-day and, like, kind of understanding what the guys are doing and changes that are being made and just trying to play a different way and play a different style and just have different things to talk about. Like, this season has actually been quite positive in that regard. And that's why, like, you know, when you work for the team and you travel with a team, like, when the team is playing poorly and we don't have a lot of wins, like, people kind of come up to you sometimes. They're always like, are you okay? how are you doing? And I'm always like, it's not like that. Like, it's like, yeah, would it be better if they were good? Yeah, absolutely. But it's like, it's a good locker room to work with. Like, the guys are honest. Chauncey is forthright about his feelings about things. And, I mean, to his credit, too, like, Chauncey will get out there and say some stuff sometimes that, like, his predecessors would not have said. That's and gives you some insight that's like, oh, okay, like, I'm learning a little bit here. Even not, like, learning about what's happening on the court, but just what, like, you expect as a coach or the way that you want to play. And so, you know, like, all those things, for me, it's like, it hasn't felt like a slog this year like it has in years past because, like, a lot of things are new, and it just feels like there's a lot to mine there in terms of, like, learning these guys and kind of figuring out, like, what should be talking to fans about. And, like, for me, it's like that has just as much value as, you know, someone who's trying to create content around this team as if they had won 45 games, you know, and then, you know, maybe they win, you know, they get bounced in 6 games in the first round. It's like that's actually a harder situation at this point in time for me than what we just went through this season.
I'm curious, Casey. We know going through the years, players come, players go, and all that. There's a lot of youngsters here. Do you have a feel yet for which ones might be here 2 or 3 years from now?
I would think so. I mean, I think I mean, obviously Scoot just because of the investment, but I think like Tumani is a guy who it's like I think Tumani is a guy. You know, he's the only thing that makes me a little concerned is that I feel like Tumani's young enough and good enough to where he's the kind of guy where when you're making moves, other teams are like, and we want him too, just like the Blazers did when they got him from the Suns.
That's a good point.
And so like so that's my only caveat, because a guy like Tumani, like, he delivers this team what they've been looking for Dwight, years and years and years. A stout physical presence who can play defense on the perimeter, can guard multiple positions, is getting better at three-point shooting, and just has a toughness to him that I think has been missing from this team for the last couple of years. So I think Tumani is one of those guys. And the other guy I would say too is Rayon, just because like I think you've already seen like the bones of what he can be as a player, and with the measurables as well. I and being again as a second-round pick, and obviously like you don't have to worry so much about like, well, are we up against the cap, and are other teams going to kind of be asking about him, which they might be, but like he seems like a guy to me too, where it's like another future development, and you've got a guy in Rayon who you feel like again could maybe be a very good starter in this league, and maybe even a little bit more than that. So I think that those are the two guys I would pick. And having said that too, like I mean, I obviously they love Chris Murray. I think they could have traded that pick if they'd wanted to, but they saw something in Chris they really liked, so they decided to keep it. So those are, I think those two guys, particularly because they're second-round picks, and they provide something that this team has needed for a while. In Tumani's case, defense, and in Rayon's case, some athleticism, some length, and some ability to maybe kind of play multiple positions as well. So I know they like all of them. Obviously, at the deadline they didn't make any moves, at least that involved any of those guys. So I think there obviously is some evaluation, and I think that Chauncey in his comments the other night where he was like, it's not a lost season or anything, but like we got to see some things. But as far as like evaluating where we're at in the process right now, it's a little bit hard because it just maybe didn't come together the way that we had hoped it had. And so I think that stunts it a little bit, but I do think this offseason, like particularly you got 2 draft picks, can you really add 2 rookies to a team that already had 4 rookies, that already had 2 sophomores, because at that point in time you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of your roster spots taking up guys who are in year 1 or 3. Like, that seems like a lot to me. So when you just start crunching the numbers a little bit, I think you realize that like they're probably going to have to make some decisions here and kind of quickly.
I was going to ask you that. So you would expect some type of consolidation instead of having 4 picks and taking 4 players.
I mean, that just seems really unlikely to me. And particularly, I mean, and in this draft too, like, people are going to fall in love with guys eventually, but you're starting off from a place
especially
right now.
here in Portland.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Where there's already like, I mean, we were talking about on the radio yesterday that like, would you give this guy a $8 million contract that he's going to get as his rookie scale contract if he was a free agent? Like, if it was Wemby, hell yeah, you would. If it's some guy who's playing in Europe right now who you've never heard of before and he's maybe 3 years away, like, and particularly in today's NBA with kind of the changes to the CBA and it being a bit more restrictive, like, you can't just be like, yeah, it's a rookie scale contract, so it's good. It's like, well, if the guy's competing, then yes, it is. If he's a guy who, again, is a few years away and he doesn't want to stay in Europe, then I think that calculation changes quite a bit. So I think the amount of young guys they already have, the amount of picks they're going to have this year, I think does lead me to believe that there's got to be some kind of move at some point in time this offseason.
What exactly is your job title? Like, I don't even know what it is because you're not a reporter. How do you describe yourself?
I mean, I think my technical, like, listing in our like HR database is digital content producer.
Yeah. That doesn't even properly describe it.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I've just never cared, like, and there's so many people that are like, well, are you a manager? Are you a coordinator? Are you a specialist? And I'm always like, I don't know. I don't care. Like I write stories. Like I try to tell people about the team. Like, call it whatever you want to call it. Like
as long as your CTC,
your story
exactly. As long as the checks show up every 2 weeks, like okay, like could they be a little bit bigger? Sure, that'd be awesome. But like I've never, and I don't know. Maybe that's held me back in my career a little bit. Who's to say? But like just the idea of like what's your title? Like it just seems so
Yeah, you're a storyteller.
Yeah, I try to put myself in the shoes of our fans and try to think like what would they want to know if they were in the position to be able to ask some of these questions. And that's basically kind of how that's what I would consider myself, is whatever that is.
It's just funny that you ask, and it might be the reason you ask, because the first time I filled in doing the Blazer pregame show, I look over to Captain, and I'm like, what exactly do we refer to? Reporter, insight, like what? And he's like, I just call him insider.
Yeah,
cool,
I mean, insider's like a catch-all for like, you kind of been around for
everyone's
a
an
little bit of time.
insider.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right,
So.
exactly.
Well, that's great. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, but real quick, tell these guys what Scott Brooks told you to do in D.C.
Oh,
it's awesome.
yeah, exactly. So I don't even know where we were at. I think we were maybe actually, I think we were in Charlotte getting on the bus, and Kamala Harris's plane was there, which actually put us behind by like 45 minutes. And we're walking out, and Scotty Brooks, assistant coach for the Blazers, has coached in Washington, D.C. And I don't know if I asked him like what he was doing or whatever, but he was like, yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Like throughout the years, people come and visit, and they always want to go to the monuments, which is great. But like there's a lot of them, and they're kind of spaced out. And, like if it's a weekend or kind of an event, like there's a lot of people around, sometimes, it's kind of can be a hassle. He's like, so what you want to do is like get a bike. And get one of the e-bikes. Don't get one of the ones you have to pedal. Like, get one of the ones that has a motor on it. He's like, and wait till night, and then just do like a circuit around the monuments. And they light them up. D.C. is a town where, like, no one actually lives in Washington, D.C., right. So, like, it empties out as soon as business hours are over for the most part. So the place is empty. And you can knock a lot of them out, and you just get a different perspective on them. And so I got an e-bike and went out and rode around a lot of the monuments. So obviously Lincoln Memorial, which is actually being constructed right now. They're doing some work on it. Jefferson Memorial, Supreme Court, Capitol, White House, and the hotel is literally 2 blocks from the White House, which small rooms, but very good location at the
how awesome is that?
DC.
A night bike ride.
And it was great. Like the only thing I would say is that particularly if you're riding around the tidal basin where the Jefferson Memorial is at, it's not very well lit. And some of those cherry trees are actually grown down over the path.
Yeah.
And I had to do a full duck before I got my head taken off by a pretty big branch. And I got whipped in the eye actually by like one of those. It's not a pea pod, but like wisteria have like those big pods they kind of throw off.
Yeah, whacked.
It got like square in my eye, and I was like, if that had been the tip, that might have taken it out a little. I have terrible vision anyway, so I guess who cares? But it was awesome. I highly recommend it. So if you're in the Capitol, get a bike at night, ride around. Don't get a scooter too. You got to stand up on scooters.
Yeah.
That's too much work.
That's too much work. All right, Trailblazer storyteller Casey Holdout
Thank
here on
you
the
so
Rest
much,
of
guys.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
All right, we'll come back. We'll continue. We're live here at Dr. Jack's getting ready for the Blazers and Rockets. Fan Appreciation Night here at Motor Center, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, we're live here at Dr. Jack's as we get ready for the Trailblazers home finale against the Houston Rockets. Tip-off is coming up at 7. Chris Burkhart, Chad Doing, the Godfather Dwight James, and very happy to welcome to the show, I think for the very first time from 105.9 The Brew, Mr. Do-It-All at iHeart Portland, it's Court Weber. What's up, Court?
How's it going?
Dude, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
When did you start your on-air shift for 105.9 The Brew?
Just recently restarted it, about a month ago. But yeah, I'd been on The Brew for years and years and years, but I kind of went away, and then I came back. So now, it's 10 to 3 every weekday.
Look at the shirt he's wearing. This is a big-time Trailblazer fan. 1990 NBA playoffs with the caricatures of the players on it.
Yeah.
That is a badass shirt.
That is a great – it's actually – I got to give credit to my wife. She had it stashed away at her mom's house. It was in the back of some closet somewhere. She went out there and was cleaning up and found it, and so I'm like, I have to wear this shirt at this game. So I'm rocking my wife's shirt.
But you guys have been Trailblazer fans and part of Portland forever, right?
Forever, yeah. I remember watching these games, the 1990 games, in my bedroom. I had a little Nerf dunk hoop set up, and as I was watching the game, I was dunking, I was playing along. But yeah, I've been a long time Blazer fan.
Dude, did you go Nerf dunk hoop?
Yeah, and I had brothers and sisters, so I dunked on my brother all the time.
Yeah, that's the best.
Nerf hoop's the best. Well, It's great to see you down here, man.
Yeah, great to be here. Looking forward to this game.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. The Blazers, young Blazers. What do you think about some of the young guys?
I mean, I love watching them. They're fun to watch, and it seems like they're always in it until the last second. I mean, except for a couple of games where they got a 60-point blowout, but for the most part, they are in it up until the last second, and so it's fun to watch them. It's fun to watch the struggle. It's fun to watch them put it together. But next year, I'm looking forward to next year as well, seeing if we can get some cohesion, get maybe some big names. I don't know what the plan is, but I'm looking forward to next year.
Godfather, we heard that from Casey saying this year's been refreshing in terms of news stories and the young players, and you've heard that from people too. They like watching the young guys develop.
Yeah, they do. Everybody likes to. You look at a guy and you try to project him forward.
Yeah.
It's like Scoot, watching Scoot. Well, you're seeing improvement this year. At the start, not so much. But as the season progressed, he got better. And now you're thinking, wow, in a couple of years, this guy's going to be a pretty good player.
Right. Well, and Portland has always been one of those cities where we fall in love with players and teams.
Yeah.
Like if we like this 1990 team, just looking at these guys, I mean, it makes your heart swell. So if we can get some of these guys, your Scoots, whoever, to kind of carry through for a few seasons, they'll be superstars. At least in Portland, they will be loved in Portland, just like Dame was, just like Terry Porter is, all these guys.
What year did you graduate from high school?
92.
So 92, you're almost right in the same exact wheelhouse that I am. So is Clyde kind of your guy then?
Oh, sure. I mean, Clyde was the guy for years and years and years. Before Clyde came along, I remember for whatever reason I loved Billy Ray Bates. Like I just
everybody did. Everybody loved Billy Ray.
Billy Ray was amazing. But then of course Clyde came along and eclipsed everybody else. But and Terry Porter, TP for 3. I mean, like those guys. That was my team. This year. This era, that was my team.
I love that, and I tell my friends this story all the time. But when I was younger, when we were in high school, it was before the internet, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have constant access to sports content. So when I would get to high school at Prairie in the mornings, I'd go to the library and pull out the latest edition of the Oregonian on that stick.
Yeah.
Lay it down on the table, and I would go right to his column and different write-ups on the games because that's how I kept up on the Blazers.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, it was a different time. You almost had to work a little bit to be a fan. There, you couldn't. It didn't just kind of flow to you like it does now. You had to go out and find it.
Yeah, but Court, how big radio was at that time.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you're a play-by-play guy, and you look at Bill Schonely became an institution. He could have run for mayor or governor or whatever and won. It's harder to be that guy in today's world now. Now it's all about the TV guys.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. Yeah, it is a little bit different. It's a different world. Travis will someday get there. He'll be Sean's someday.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah.
But that's the way I was when I was younger. I would hear Sean's, and I wanted to be him.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Everybody wanted to be him. He had the best job in the world. He just has to sit there and watch your favorite team play night after night. I mean, that was the job to have.
And the voice.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. Yep.
I've never talked to you about this, but have you always wanted to be in radio since you were little?
I mean, it was like teenage years. I mean, it was funny. I had my 30-year reunion lately, a high school reunion, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, it's so great to find out that you got your dream job. This is what you wanted." I'm like, did I talk about it in high school? Did I really make it that known that I wanted to be in radio? But apparently I did. So yeah, this is kind of my. I was always headed this direction, I guess.
Well, I love what you guys are doing at 105.9 The Brew because the morning show is great. Tanner and Drew are terrific. Laura's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And to be involved in a station like that, one of the best in Portland, it's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, you get to listen to. Sort of like Sean's. I mean, when he was watching those games, he has the dream job. I have the sort of dream job as well, where I get to listen to this amazing morning show every morning, and then I get to pick up right where they left off and keep it going. So, and I get to play rock and roll music. So,
who are your radio influences here in town when you're younger?
Oh, I mean, back in the day, it was like Bill Prescott. Do you know him?
Yes, from 101 KUFO.
Yeah.
I listened to him. He was on my alarm clock every morning.
And he was my first job. One of my first jobs was working for Bill. I was his producer.
Oh, he would always number his shows because he assumed he was going to get fired at some point.
Right, exactly.
Bill Prescott, day number 479.
Yeah. So he was one of my big influences back in the day. And listen to the Morning Zoo back in the day when that was a big thing. John Murphy and all those guys. Radio has always been a big part of my life.
Always rock and roll too.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have that country music phase?
No, I mean, there for a second when everybody was into Garth Brooks, I was into Garth Brooks, but that was about it. Yeah.
That's great. How have you seen the biggest changes in music radio over the last 10 to 15 years?
I think there has been less as far as rock music. There's been less stuff that's come out that's really kind of hit. I mean, I think grunge was kind of like the last big wave.
Yes.
And then it started kind of petering off after that. And at this point, I couldn't tell you that many brand new rock bands. There for a while, I could have told you a million rock bands because I'm constantly listening to all new stuff. But now, not so much. So I think that's industry wide. I think that everybody's kind of into the old stuff. They don't listen to the new stuff as much anymore. I mean, you kind of have to look for it. It's not just out there anymore.
All right. Well, Court Weber, kind enough to stop by as we celebrate Fan Appreciation Night. 105.9 The Brew. When can they find you on 105.9 The Brew?
10 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
10 to 3, baby.
Yeah.
You're working too long. You're making us look bad. Good God.
Well, I am drinking a beer right now, so that makes up for it.
What's your drink of choice right now?
This is the break side here at Dr. Jack's.
Very nice. Break side at Dr. Jack's. Well, Court, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
All right, Court Weber, 105.9 The Brew. He's enjoying a brewski right now. Come by and join us. You can enjoy one yourself. And we're going to be here until 6 o'clock. Trailblazers and Rockets tonight. Fan Appreciation Night here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Chad doing Chris Burkhardt, the Godfather Dwight James here at Dr. Jack's, getting ready for a tip-off of the Rockets and Blazers coming up at 7. It's Fan Appreciation Night, and we got the iHeart team out here helping to support the Trailblazers on Fan Appreciation Night, and we're joined by a guy that's already forgotten more about radio than I'll ever know, the one and only Scott Tom. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I got to tell you, you talk so fast. You sports people talk so fast.
Not me, just Chad. Nah, not me.
Can you slow it down a little bit so I can take it all in? No, how are you?
It's so good to see you. How many years have you been on radio now in Portland?
45.
Gee.
I know, don't I? I look 45, don't I?
You do.
I mean, I put that cream by my crow's feet every day.
Yes.
Down here, so I don't get those jowl things going on.
You look great. 106.7 The Eagle. It is Scott Tom with us. I've been dying to get you on the show for a long time. You know, with the Trailblazers, like, think about all the different great moments, whether it be the championship or the runs that they had in the early 90s with Clyde. You've been a part of it with the radio all the way through.
All the way through. And I remember the championship. I remember when that clock ticked down, and I couldn't believe it. We won the championship, and you know what? I got to tell you, I was really miffed. What the heck? They went to golf. You remember that?
Yeah.
Kemper
Open. The Kemper Open.
I love golf. But we just won the championship. And they went to golf.
No shots to the locker room.
No champagne in the face or all over the. Yeah, but it was amazing. And so, I've had the pleasure of being part of Portland radio and part of the Blazers for a long time. I worked at 62 KGW
legendary station
back in the 80s, and we had Blazer Broadcasting, and. Let's see, Steve Jones, Pat Lafferty.
Yep.
Remember Pat? And so I remember doing all kinds of great Blazer things back in the 80s, where all of the radio, the KGW King jocks would go to a Blazer game, and we literally did a TV commercial on Channel 2, 6, 8, and 12 at exactly the same time. We were in white tuxedos, and at that moment, all the stations went to the Blazer game. It was some big Blazer promotion, and you'll never see that today.
Yeah, for sure.
Not all four television stations. It was awesome.
If I would have told you 40 years ago that 40 years from now you're still going to be on the radio, what would you have told me?
I'd have said, no, I'm sorry, I'll be selling cars. or
in other words, you'd have got a better job, right?
I will never probably be able to go into real estate. I would be the guy that comes out and puts the sign in front of the house, has a little post digger, goes to the back of the truck and puts the sign. I'm the sign guy.
Yeah.
If I wasn't doing radio.
Well, you had a chance to work with one of my radio heroes when I was younger, Craig Walker, for years, who was a legend.
Craig is still a legend, and we go back such a long way. And I just talked to him a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of golf, and for years he kept saying, we have to golf. And I kept saying, because he used to laugh at me a little bit because I used to golf at, do you guys remember Portland Meadows?
Of course.
I do,
The horse track.
I played there.
There was a nice little 9-hole golf course. What did they used to call that? There was a name for Portland Meadows golf course. And Craig laughed and said, look, I want you to come out. Let's golf somewhere, big full golf course. And I said, okay. About 30 years went by. 30 years. And not too long ago, we ended up golfing at the Tualatin Country Club, of which,
great course.
Great course. Never got to golf there before, and he paid the bill. he paid the bill. So, and he also beat my butt. I mean, he schooled me, he spanked me, but hey, it was worth it. It was worth it. I'll never probably golf there again, but it was such a great time. I know we're supposed to be talking basketball, but it's the Masters weekend too,
No, we love it. We were talking about the Masters, too. Any particular golfers you're following this weekend? Masters?
Well, I will say it's always exciting. It's always exciting when Tiger plays.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to see Tiger, see how he's going to do. But Scotty Scheffler, I just like that guy. I noticed DeChambeau they were tied when I left, but DeChambeau and Mickelson are now live golf, right?
Yes, they are.
And
Brooks Koepka, too.
So
three-way tie up top. Max Homa, Scotty Scheffler, Bryson DeChambeau, all at 6 under.
So now they're all, because it's the Masters, who's not associated with the PGA or live directly, they can all golf in this tournament.
It's an invitational tournament, so they can invite who they want.
That's good to know. See, I'm learning. Today I learned because of Rip City. So I love Scotty Scheffler because he seems so humble.
Yeah.
He's very humble, and he's got my name.
What more can you ask?
And I'm humble. I said I'm humbled, mister. No.
You are.
But
the Scott Thomas today that I know, absolutely. I can't vouch for 30 or 40 years ago.
But I really would like to see Tiger at least do better than 1 under.
Yeah.
I hope he makes. I don't know what the cut is.
Well, we think it's impressive that he just made it through today, having to finish up round 1 and get through round 2 and physically hold up without breaking down.
Right. Well, he must have been going through some kind of a heavy-duty physical training thing to even try to come back.
Yeah, it's tough.
But anyway, so
Scott, I got to ask you a radio question. Though.
Yeah.
And you mentioned jocks a while ago. You're talking about your brethren in the business.
Yeah.
And I'm an old guy, and I remember when your job was so much different, and the DJs, the disc jockeys,
right?
Man, they were the kings of the town. When I was in high school, everybody wanted to be a disc jockey. Are you kidding me? That was a big deal.
You want to know who my hero is? My hero, besides Craig Walker, John Williams, and some of those people that I worked with at KGW, my hero is Dave Roggaway. LaRogue Jewelers.
Sure.
Dave Roggaway was Dave Stone at Kissin' Radio, and I was at Benson High School. I took KBPS at Benson. I was in a big a pep rally, and they were doing the history of rock and roll, and the curtains opened at the end, and he stepped out and said, Dave Stone, Kissin' Radio, and everybody went crazy. And I looked at that guy, and I go, I want to do what he does.
Well, I was listening to Kissin' myself, and it was like Tiger Tom Murphy, Real Don Steele. He became really big after he left here. They closed the Steel Bridge down one day. He had a big rally or something. It's the Steel Bridge, named after Real Don Steele or whatever, and it was unbelievable, the stature that those guys had. And then they had that studio right there with the window. You could drive by.
10th and Birdside.
Yeah. When you were cruising Broadway, you could take a turn up there and wave at those guys.
Oh, and those boys picked up so many women driving by the studio window.
Yeah.
But, the difference today is, of course, now, back then there was so much Hollywood in radio disc jockey. So it was all Hollywood. It was all show business. Now anybody can start their own YouTube channel and become famous. Everybody's famous now, or everybody can be. So now I look at it this way. I'm just glad to be on the radio, to still have a job doing what I love, and to be able to, I don't want to waste your time. If I'm going to open the microphone, I want it to be something useful. It's the last weekend of Ski Bowl. If you're skiers, get up there and enjoy yourself. Wouldn't you, Tulip Fest? Things going on that I can touch, or emotional things, if I can touch you emotionally. Every now and then. I mean, I'm not a yuck it up jock. I don't yuck it up, and I don't shock jock or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to say ass earlier, and I had to stop myself.
He did.
I was going to say, Craig, but I had to stop myself because, you don't talk like that on the radio. That's the way I've always been. I'm just
some people don't.
Yeah, you can say ass on sports radio if you want, but if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Yeah, I know. See, it's kind of silly these days, but that's the way that's
how you were
my
brought
culture.
Up. Yeah,
that's my culture. And I thought, well, there's no need to talk like that. So anyway,
no, it's great.
So I'm on Facebook, by the way. So I mean, hey, I love Rip City Radio. I mean, because oh, wait a second. By the way, do you know that the frequency that you're on used to be 62 KGW?
Yes, I'm well aware, and I love the fact that I'm on a station that Craig Walker and Scott Tom used to be on.
Who would have thought? If you'd have told me that 40 years ago.
It's going to be a sports station?
I actually would have believed it because, we had the Blazers back then, and whenever the Blazers were on, our ratings went through the roof. I mean, whenever we had Trailblazer basketball on KGW radio, and can I share one of my highlights of a Blazer game?
Absolutely.
One of my highlights was, I was just a normal jock. I mean, I wasn't one of these big stars. Steve Jones and Pat Lafferty, we would banter back and forth. When they did their show, it was the pre-show, and we would banter back and forth, and Pat Lafferty and I were talking smack to each other. And Jones said, well, we should have a little bit of a competition. I think you and Lafferty should have a three-point shootout. And you guys need to get some listeners. And we assigned a listener to me and a listener to Pat Lafferty. And halftime at a Blazer game, I got to go, and I made sure I dressed like Lafferty with a shirt, tie, slacks, dress shoes, and went out there at halftime. Holy moly. I'm standing there on the court looking up at all of those people, and this was the Coliseum, mind you.
Yeah.
And that was incredible, the lights and the people, how anybody could go out there and shoot like these players do. But we got 24 seconds on the clock. He was at one end of the court. I was at the other, and I don't want to say anything, but I spanked his ass. Very first shot I took, nothing but net. No, and the crowd went, ah! And I can't believe how good it got to me. So quick. It felt good. I go, I'm out here. That's right. And I just kept, and I don't remember how many I made, but I think I made about 3 or 4 more than Pat Lafferty. And I didn't get a thing out of it. But my listener got like a weekend at the beach and dinner for 2 and stuff like that. So that's probably my fondest memory.
That's awesome.
Of NBA basketball.
I love it. Scott Tom, 106.7 The Eagle. Scott, thanks for coming down.
Hey, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Always nice to see you guys. And thanks for letting me be here, and thanks for letting me come on and share some memories. I mean,
it's our pleasure. Are you kidding me?
There was, so much more to my career that I won't delve into. That will be after dark. That will be in the safe harbor.
Yes, the safe harbor.
Talking about the old DJ days,
Yes, I know.
Gentlemen, Rip City Radio, I love you guys. Go Blazers.
Yes.
Thank you,
All right,
Scott.
take care.
Scott Tom, 106.7 The Eagle. We'll come back. We're live at Dr. Jack's, getting ready for the Blazers and Rockets. Tip-off's coming up at 7. Chris Burkhardt, Chad doing The Godfather, Dwight James, here at 620 Rip City Radio.
Hi, this is Scott Tom, the midday guy here at 62 KGW, and I'm glad you joined us for another exciting season of Portland Trailblazer basketball. And I would like to invite you to tune me in every Monday through Friday, 10 to 3, as I prove there is life on the radio after the John Williams Morning Show. Even though John is a hard act to follow, I'll bring you exciting features, great prizes, lots of your favorite music, and much more. Tune me in, and you'll see I'm not just another pretty voice on the radio. Middays with me, Scott Tom, 10 to 3, here on 62 KGW.
At Willamette Egg Farms, we treat our chickens like VIPs, because in our business,
Oh, that's cool. That's a throwback. I didn't know what that was.
Yep, we got that dynamite stick
Yeah.
that's in our studio, too, that says "The Bomb," and it's a picture of Scott Tom's face on it, too.
That's great.
Well, their studio used to be where the TV station is.
Okay.
That's right. The
Yeah.
old KGW building, right?
Yeah. Well, and the space we were in
Yeah.
at NBC, that was their part of their studio.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It's all
you-
coming together.
But you made a good point, Godfather, that nowadays it's the YouTube star, but back in the day it was all about the disc jockey.
Those guys were so big in town; it was amazing. Gosh, they were big.
I still have some of the CD sets that like Z100 put out that you could go buy at the
Yes.
CDs,
Well,
the Tower Records or whatever.
in my day, Chris, there was rock and roll radio, or you had to go buy the record. That was it.
Yeah.
There wasn't any other place to get your music.
Well, in
So-
my day, it was cassette tape. Wait
Right.
an hour for your favorite song to come back on and hit record.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. All right, Trailblazers and Rockets are coming up tonight. What was that like for you, Godfather, at the end of a season after a full year of traveling with the team, covering the team? I know you're looking forward to the season getting over so you can have a break, but what was that transition like for you? Because you go from working nonstop to all of a sudden having a completely different schedule.
Well, I'll tell you honestly, Chad, if you're traveling all year with a team, even a good team, by the time you get to the playoffs, half of you saying, oh, man, just get it over with. You want them to continue on, go to the finals, whatever. But those years when and I covered them 2 years in the finals, 90 and 92, those are the longest years of your life. I mean, because you have to understand when you're doing this, it's so immersive. You almost lose your family for that time, especially in the playoffs. I mean, Chris knows that we've been through in the playoffs, and you just don't see your kids, you don't see your wife. It's just on and on and on. And in my days, we went to practice. We had to go to practice. That was every morning. And they actually practiced in those days. There was none of this walkthrough stuff. They actually practiced. So by the time the end of the season came, you wanted a week just to sit at home and stare at the wall. Get to know your kids again, take the wife and kids out to dinner, maybe order a pizza, all these things that you couldn't do for the whole season. It was tough.
Was it fun covering a team that was one of the premier teams in the league for 3 straight years?
Yeah, it was, because everybody was in such a good mood all the time. Everybody was happy.
Winning has a way of making people happy,
Yes,
doesn't it?
it is. Winning is the ultimate perfume, that's for sure. And I can remember so many times of just being on the road, because the good teams love winning road games. You'll see that over and over. I bet Denver now just loves to go in and spank somebody, because those Blazer teams, they played real well on the road after those road games. And they were on commercial flights, so they didn't leave till the next morning, just like I did. I was on the same flight. And after the game, guys were hanging out and, go to the bar and get some nachos or whatever, chicken wings, and just kind of hanging out, enjoying winning. It was fun.
That's pretty awesome. And, of course, your favorite year, I've already talked to you about it, but you loved covering that Western Conference Finals run a few years ago.
Oh, it was great. It was nonstop. A lot of action. We were making great content. At the same time, though, like Dwight said, you got to explain to your wife, like, they won. They beat Oklahoma on this bad shot, and guess what? Season just got extended by at least 2 weeks. And she's like, oh gosh, I think I missed Easter and Mother's Day because of that run.
Well, and such a nightmare too with reservations for hotels and flights and all that stuff. It's tough, to get what you want to get. And of course, we're all after the points for the hotels and the miles on the airlines. So that's a big deal too, to try to satisfy those requirements and then still make good reservations.
Yeah. Or you get in the situation where it's like, okay, you got through your series in 4 or 5 games, but the series opponent you're going to play is going 7.
Yeah.
So you have a hotel booked in Los Angeles and Denver, not knowing which one you're going to need, and then you got to, oh gosh, did I cancel that? I hope I canceled it. It gets crazy.
Yeah. I thought that was a pretty good scene the other night in Denver, where the Nuggets players went out and they were launching basketballs up into the stands for the fans.
That's
and just
cool.
taking a moment to applaud them and thank them. And it goes to show you, like, they appreciate their fan base because they understand what they have, and they're winning a lot of basketball games right now. So they're in one of those special moments where they know that they're coming off a championship, and for the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be one of those premier teams in the league.
Well, and the other thing, nobody celebrates those kind of winning situations like Portland. I mean, I can still remember 77, Chad. You could not drive down a busy business boulevard without seeing Red Hot and Rolling, Go Blazers, whatever, all those signs all the way up and down the roads. Everybody in town. The world stopped in Portland when the Blazers played. It was just incredible. There's never been anything like it here, ever.
That's why I like that run in 2019, because it wasn't to the same extent, but there was still this kind of aura in the air where I was going out and people were asking me about, man, what's it like in the playoffs, and what do you think about Dame's performance and this and that, and you start to get that vibe. And I've said that before, Dwight, that this fan base feeds off the team like nobody's business. When the team is down, fan base is down. When the team is up, fan base is up, and it's a very unique relationship.
That's great. The Rip City Drive, Dwight James, Chad Doing, Chris Burkhardt here hanging out. We've got a lot of members of the iHeart family down here hanging out, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it is. Covering a winter's fun. That's the way it is. It's just better.
Yeah, it is better. You know, you did it in the Bay Area.
I did. I went down there after being down there for a few weeks. I saw the Giants have a parade.
Yeah.
And I saw the same year the Sharks went to the Stanley Cup, and then the Warriors won a championship.
Yeah.
And that was a same type of situation, long-time starving fan base down there in Oakland, and all of a sudden they caught lightning in a bottle with their basketball team. The weird thing is I'm watching the Warriors now. A lot of fans don't like Steve Kerr now. They complain about his coaching, and they nitpick and stuff like that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. He's the same coach. His players just don't happen to be as good, you know.
You know what's interesting, though, is you hear that about Kerr, but unless I haven't seen it, you don't hear that about Pop. You don't hear a lot of Pop hate coming out of San Antonio after a handful of bad years.
Yes. There should be some of that, by the way.
You would think, right?
Yes.
He kind of.
Besides, he's obnoxious.
Well, I mean, you could tell that he kind of just went through the motions and then got Wemby. There was some time. He wasn't popping, if you get, you know what I mean.
I mean, were they intentionally trying to tank this year? That's what it looks like. But I thought they would be much better with Wemby.
They should have been. Nobody can figure that out because there was really no incentive for them to tank this year. There's nobody in the draft they want. I just don't understand it. They should have been a lot better, Chad. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a stunner. I thought they would become an instant playoff contender with Wemby this year because he's so dynamic.
Yeah.
Well, watching some of their games, what hurts them is they don't have a true or talented enough point guard, and they can't get him the ball. The amount of times they'll run a nice pick and roll, and he'll have a wide open lane, and you could close your eyes and throw the ball up to a dude who's 7'5", and their point guard play is real bad, and it hurts him.
Yeah. Has Wemby been better or what you thought it would be?
About what I thought. A little better, Chad, as a rookie. I think he's improved his shooting a little bit from what it was because it was worse than Scoot from three-point range.
Yeah.
It was not good at all. And what a factor defensively, though. And I knew right from the start, you know, when you're 7'5", you don't need a lot of experience. Yeah. You could do what you do.
That's great. What about you?
I actually think he's been a little bit better than I thought. I thought he was going to be good, but I feel like even when a rookie's really good, you don't see a lot of rookies kind of change the game or win the game themselves. And I've seen games where he has flipped the game on its head.
Yeah.
And the defensive side, he's really, really good. He doesn't get pushed around as easily as I thought he would, being as frail, air quotes on that, but he gets really good block shots. And we've seen block shots from him where it's not getting at the apex. It's slapping the ball down from a dude who's 6'10" and making him look small. So he's actually been a little better than I thought.
The other thing about it, I mean, he's been healthy, real healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, he shows up every night. They rest him, but most of those nights he wants to play. And I've been very impressed with how he's not shown any signs of the wear and tear of an NBA season.
Are they going to ramp up his minutes next year?
Oh, yeah, they'll have to.
Oh, yeah, without
they'll
a
have
doubt.
to.
So he'll start playing 35, 36 a night.
Yeah.
Or more?
They'll be
certain nights?
careful. Well, he's still young.
Yeah.
But if they have to win games, see, they're losing games anyway, so there was no pressure to keep him on the floor for a 40-minute game. They didn't have any. They weren't going to make the playoffs. They had nothing to play for all year, really. So that took the pressure off playing him.
What about for Scoot? What's been the thing you liked the most that you've seen from Scoot on the floor this year through a choppy rookie season?
Well, I think the way he's just sort of accepted his situation. I think it was really tough on him in the beginning to come in, and I know he thought he was going to have a much bigger impact because he's a confident player. And he's always been the best guy on the floor every place he's ever played, and he's not now, So that, for a lot of players, that would have really sent him into a funk. I never anticipated that he was in that kind of funk. I thought he handled it really well. He just kept his nose to the grindstone, kept working hard, and he's improved. There's just no question. All around, he's gotten better. Every part of his game's gotten better.
What about for you?
It's something that you've said quite a few times and something Dwight just kind of alluded to there. But what I love about him is how even keel he stays. He can have a really bad game. I mean, 8 turnovers 3 nights ago now, 9 turnovers last night. But he tends to be the type of guy who just lets that erase it. We got a new game. Let's go out there and play. And then he tends to try to learn from those mistakes more so than not. And then even the games where he has a lot of mistakes, like I'm watching these, and they're not all bad turnovers. There's a lot of them where he's trying to make a pass, and the guy just didn't cut where he was supposed to cut, or there wasn't the motion that he thought. But at least you can tell that assist happened because – his brain is trying to figure out what's going on. Outside of those inbounds plays, where those ones you got to find the open guy. But there's a lot of assists where I think those are going to start to fix themselves as the roster gets better and the continuity gets better.
The roster getting better is huge for a point guard. He's not playing with the Boston Celtics right now. Let's face it. He's playing with a lot of young guys who are also just trying to find their way in the league, some of whom won't be in the league probably next season. You just don't know. But I think he's handled all that really well. You don't see him blaming teammates, jumping on their back about something.
Never.
He's been real calm about that, and I think eventually he will be this team's leader.
You have been in many a locker room to know, as has Chad, that he comes across to me as a guy that once he finds that voice, that locker room will gravitate to that type of personality. It's just a matter of finding that voice.
It's the Rip City Drive, Dwight and Chad, and we got Chris Burkhardt here. I do want to say that I went through and read through large portions of the affidavit out. I think it's like 37 or 38 pages on Ippy Mizuhara. And I want you to read through it. After reading through
I've read through it, yeah.
I think that he was a gambling addict I think he pulled it off. I think he's guilty, and I don't think Ohtani had anything to do with it. I did not think that in the beginning, but based on the information and with what I read, I have changed my stance. I now think that Mizuhara is the culprit, and I don't think that Ohtani is guilty in this situation.
Well, I'll have to agree to disagree with you because I do think he had knowledge of it at least. I think the most likely scenario is that he didn't gamble. I don't know that he gambled, but I think he agreed to make good on those debts because he knew they were in his name anyway.
Yeah, but the weird part was in the text messages, and the guy for the IRS who went through it, who speaks fluent Japanese, he did not come across one text exchange between Mizuhara or Ohtani of any game, any bet, any wager. Did we win? None of that. Not once. And based on what I know from Mizuhara now, the guy's an idiot. So he would have slipped up over the course of 3 years at some point if they were in it together. I really believe that.
Even with a burner phone?
I don't think that – I mean, what I'm saying is you could use a burner phone, but there's no way that with thousands and thousands of text messages over the course of 3 years, there's not going to be one reference to a game. You don't have to reference a bet, but not even a game or a result of a game or, hey, did you see the score? None of that. Not once.
Also this, Chad, everyone goes, how could you not realize that money was missing in your account? And the thing is, when you're making that type of money, you don't realize it because I've had these conversations before. Talking to an NBA player one time who was staying at like the top level suite in a hotel, right? And happened to see the room. I'm like, how much did this cost? And looked at me dead in the eye and goes, I don't know. I just gave him my card at the desk. Because when you're making that much money, you don't pay attention to the nickels and dimes and the dollars and cents.
But he's got accountants who are so smart. He's right in the middle of swindling the state of California out of millions in tax because all that deferred money, he's going to move back to Japan and he won't pay tax on that in California. But those guys are pretty sharp. And the CAC, his representatives, his reps, they're supposedly changing the way they monitor their clients' money over this just because, hey, somebody should have seen that money disappearing. Not him. I understand that. He's too busy playing ball or whatever. And it's so much money. It's like money in your seat cushions. But somebody should have seen that money disappearing.
True.
But
If it
according
was
to the
that much.
affidavit, though, he set up the account for Ohtani when he came over.
Yeah.
And then he specifically deceived the rest of his team, and they kept requesting to see that account. And he was always with Ohtani, and he would say, as translator, that he wants to keep that private.
Right.
So he kept him at arm's length, so
But
no
if
one
it
else
was-
had access to the account.
But if it was Ohtani, he would want the same thing. He wouldn't want people, if he were actually using that money to bet, he wouldn't want anyone else looking at it either, because they'd be asking him what he was doing with the money.
Well, of course. I'm just saying that it is hard to believe that with all the communication that they had over the course of time, not one reference to a game,
Yeah.
a score.
It's also hard to believe, though, that they would allow an interpreter the kind of freedom that it took for him to take all those precautions, unless Ohtani was on board with it.
Well, so you think that Ohtani was gambling?
No, I said I think the most likely thing is the interpreter was doing the gambling, but Ohtani, like the original story, when the guy came to him and said, "Hey, look, I lost this much money gambling," and Ohtani said, "Hey, I got plenty of money. I'll cover you. Don't worry about it." Because he had to.
But then when the story came out and it changed, do you think that he would be willing to take hard time in the federal hole for his boy?
I think he was sat down in a room and said, you said the wrong thing, pal, because it's illegal for him to cover your gambling debts. So you're going to have to take the fall on this because you did do it. You were the guy to gamble.
How do you see it?
I don't know. I think it's crazy. I do see a little bit of what Dwight's saying there. That's the way I see it. Hey, good friend in trouble. I got you. And again, the amount of money that
but would you face hard time in the federal pen for your boy?
He probably didn't think that far ahead.
Yeah, probably didn't.
You said he was a dum-dum, and he probably is.
Well, I mean, yeah, to think that he could send thousands and thousands of texts over 3 years and not reference a game at all, you don't believe that, do you?
Well, he wouldn't reference a game if he was the guy doing the gambling and Ohtani was covering his bet.
Yeah, but people
Ohtani
slip
didn't
up.
even know what was going on until the very end. That was the original story that came out. You had trouble with that story. I know that when they changed it. You had trouble when they changed their story.
Well, anytime in life when one story is given and it immediately changes, yeah, we're all programmed to be like, why did you change the story so quick? Yeah. So I'm just telling you, I've changed my view. I don't think Ohtani had anything to do with it after reading through the affidavit, which, by the way, why do they write him the way they write him? It's the most boring read on the planet. You got to sit through until you get to good details about what's going on.
But you know me. I love the good conspiracy theory, Chad, so I'm sticking to my story, too, because I love it.
There's nothing wrong with a good conspiracy theory. All right, we'll come back, and when we do, we'll put a bow on the show. Curtis Long standing by. He'll have your Trailblazer pregame show, which is coming up at 6. Tip-off is at 7. As we get ready for the home finale for your Portland Trailblazers tonight here at Moda Center against the Rockets on Fan Appreciation Night, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rip City Drive, Blazer Game Day, getting ready for the Rockets and Trailblazers coming up tonight. Tip-off is at 7 o'clock. It's a good crowd down here tonight. It's filled in nicely over the course of the last hour.
I love it. I love it. I just talked to Mark, came up, a season ticket holder, and it's just fun to actually meet people who are listening to us, and great chance to just kind of get to know them a little bit.
Any chance you can get out of the studio and be out amongst the people is a good thing.
Absolutely. Love it.
What do we got here? Oh, thank you very much. Modern technology. We got the communication down. Burkhardt's here. He and I will have the fifth quarter following the game tonight, and then the Trailblazers will finish out the season on Sunday with a tip time at 12:30 against Sacramento. So I looked at the slate on Sunday. There aren't too many meaningful games in terms of playoff jockeying, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what the NBA had in mind when they got that 12:30 start time. Isn't that what they wanted when they started all the teams at the same time? They didn't want teams resting or tanking or whatever?
Exactly. They don't want teams trying to manipulate their seeding by, knowing ahead of time who won and who lost.
Well, the best part about having no game tomorrow, we can nestle up and watch some Masters golf.
Yes.
A bunch. I think I've now figured out that the Masters app, probably the single best app in creation. It is amazing how good it is to be able to follow golfers, watch live action. They've got that thing dialed in.
Yeah, of course, it's the Masters.
Have
They're
you
the
used the
master
app?
of everything.
Do you use the app?
I have not, no.
Are you you like watching golf, Burkhardt?
I'll watch it. I don't watch it religiously, but if it's on the TV, I won't change the channel if you get my drift. I enjoy it for sure. It's fun.
All right, so what are you looking for from Scoot, Aiden, some of the key guys over the last couple of games?
Well, Scoot just a continued improvement, and I know he wants to finish strong. Everybody on that team wants to finish strong. You want to end up on an upbeat note, and I think tonight is a good chance for them to win a game. I do. I think this is a game they should win.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I think it was after the Miami game a couple of weeks ago, the brutal performance, tough outing for Scoot.
Yeah.
Chauncey met with his coaching staff and said, hey, we got to do a better job of getting Scoot in a position to have success. He didn't want him to finish out the year on a sour note.
Right. And there is something to that, Chad. I mean, when you're the point guard, you're a slave to the rest of your team. And you can be the best point guard in the world, but if you're playing with lousy players, and I'm not saying these guys are, they're not, but when your teammates aren't supporting you, who are you going to throw the ball to? Who are you going to set up? And you got to have structure for him to be able to do that. And I think you can lose your way with that, especially with a young team. They forget to back cut. They forget to cut. They forget to set the pick, whatever. They forget to roll off the pick. All those things can happen to a point guard, and then he's stuck. And Casey, he brought something up good. All of a sudden, all his teammates who could score started disappearing from the lineup. You lose Ant, and then you lose Brogdon, and then you lose Aiden for a while, and you start losing these guys. Who are you supposed to go to now to get them shots and to get them points so that you get an assist?
I have enjoyed watching the two-man game with Scoot and Ayton.
Yeah.
And you can see Ayton making an effort to connect with him on the floor, which is kind of cool.
Right. Well, Ayton knows where his bread is buttered because that's, that's a big part of what Ayton has done is the skill that Scoot has had, getting the ball off the pick and roll or off the lob. And Scoot's learning that pretty fast, and it's really working out well for both of them.
And to your point, I mean, last night there was minutes on the floor where Scoot was playing with Ashton Haggins, and they had to move Haggins kind of over to point. They moved Scoot over to the 2 a little bit, but then they flipped back. The guy that he's supposed to throw to shoot the ball has hit 8 threes his entire career.
Right.
And granted, most of that's been this year, but again, that's just not a plethora of shooters.
Right.
For your point guard.
What are you supposed to do as a point guard with that? There's not much you can do with that.
Yeah, I mean, on the floor, the guys that he's playing with, again, Ryan Rupert, Chris Murray, what have the narratives been on them all year? Oh, their shot has started to improve. It's not where it needs to be yet,
it's
and
like
they showed improvement.
Kamara's the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with Casey's assessment. Kamara looks like he's got something.
Yeah, I think his toughness, Casey mentioned that, his toughness is special to this franchise right now. They don't have a lot of it, and they need more of it.
How many guys, he might be their toughest hard-nosed player on the team. How many guys would be like him?
I think you're right.
Would you put Ayton in that category?
No, I wouldn't.
Scoot?
Really. Scoot's tough. Yeah, I think he is tough. And if he ever had to show it or prove it, I think he could. But You need the bigger guys to be tough.
I think Matisse can get in that category. He plays tough when he wants to. Not the exact same, but he can play a tough
Well, if
game.
you're a good defender, you've got an element of
exactly.
toughness. Yeah.
That's a guy I miss seeing on the fly. I like Matisse Thybulle a lot.
I do too. Fun player to watch. It's a shame we haven't seen him at the end of the season.
You know, if you really pay attention, like his skill at being able to steal the basketball, like it's an art form for him.
Yeah.
His instincts, his quickness. He just looks like he's thinking about the game differently when he's out there, unlike many players I've seen before.
Yeah, and he has that defensive instinct that you need, and then you put his instinct together with his smarts. He's really smart. I think he probably watches a lot of video of opponents before they play him because he knows tendencies. He knows those guys that spin dribble, and he times it well enough that when they spin, he's right there to get the ball from them. He's really a good defender.
So did I tell you I forgot my belt today?
Yes, you did.
I feel it's awkward. I feel like I have wet underwear on. It's like I don't like the feeling of not having my belt. And I stopped off today to buy a belt.
Yeah.
And I went through all of them, and I couldn't find the right belt because the leather was too stiff. And so I'm like, screw it. And I just forget about it. I'll wait till I get home, and I can have my belt tomorrow. But I don't like not having my belt.
Well, Chad, would you agree that you're kind of picky about stuff? You know what
Not
you
kinda,
like, and you
yes.
don't settle
I'm
for
not settling.
anything else.
Not settling.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing it. I was in another store today getting some jeans, and I'm like, I need this size. And she's like, well, we have this. Will it work? I'm like, no, it's not going to work, actually.
Yeah, but you know what you want. You expect to get it, and you will settle for nothing less. It's like you're belt shopping. There's belts all over the place.
Yeah, I
None
need a
of them
specific
are
belt.
right.
Yeah.
It's not the right belt.
He told me what the his brother does. He doesn't wear a belt, so he walks around with the hand in the pocket and holds his pants up. And so I'm going to perfect that trick tonight, Godfather. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to tell you this. You know how I keep my pants up? I don't skip leg day, guys. That's how you keep your pants up.
I train my legs hard. I'm also an ectomorph, all right? What do you want me to do? I'm an ectomorph.
Fair enough.
Now that you've told my secrets, this is my brother. I have to.
I love your brother, and he knows that I love him too. Okay. I love Bruce. He's my guy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, I can't imagine not wearing a belt.
Yeah. I'm gonna pay attention now. I've met him a few times. Like, hands are in the pocket.
In fact, I'm gonna buy. I'm going to buy Bruce a belt because I don't want him to experience what I'm experiencing every day.
Don't bother.
Have you done it before?
No. He might, if it's free, he might wear it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe he just doesn't want to buy one.
He's probably just looking for a good buy on a belt.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And he's a millionaire. That's the other side of the coin. He is a millionaire.
I forgot to ask you. What about that hot take from Damon Stoudemire saying Burgerville was better than In-N-Out?
You know what? I don't necessarily agree with him, but I really appreciated the hot take coming from a former Portlander, and I know where he lived. He's talking about that Burgerville right there at the by the end of the St. John's Bridge, and hey, he's loyal. That's good. I like that.
I love Burgerville too in terms of fast food. The quality and the taste is terrific.
It's fresh. Yeah.
But you can't beat the value of In-N-Out compared to Burgerville.
Yeah. Whoever commented on it is right. Burgerville's gotten very expensive.
Yeah.
They are expensive.
So is every fast food joint right now, except In-N-Out. They're trying to keep those prices low.
They are. Yeah.
How do they do that?
I don't know, but they're getting closer and closer to Portland. I sent you that thing, right? Ridgefield. They're in Ridgefield. They're going to Ridgefield.
I know. I don't care if they get into Portland anymore now because
you got
the location of where they're going in. It's like a 5-minute drive from where I live.
Man, I envy that.
You know how they keep their prices low? Because you've never seen an In-N-Out commercial, an In-N-Out billboard. They have no advertising budget because word of mouth has done it for them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like that because we're in an advertising-based business here.
Yeah.
I support businesses that like to put their ads out there. But you're right. Word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't think I've ever seen a commercial.
You haven't. They don't exist. Now, I commented
there's
on
ads
Dwight's
on
status,
Laker
too.
Games.
Oh, okay, there's ads on Laker
Laker
games, according to Shacker. Well, there you go.
Thanks, Shacker.
But,
way to ruin our story, Shacker.
Well, you never see them elsewhere. Now, as I commented on Dwight's post, is that the real answer is I wouldn't say no to either of them. Someone says you want to go to Burgerville? Yeah. Want to go to In-N-Out? Yeah. I'm not saying no. Both good.
Yeah, they're both good. That's the way to look at it. Why do I have to choose one all the time?
Yeah, why?
The Burgerville spread, they're selling that.
That's
now
good stuff, though.
because it's really good. I used to order a cup of that for my fries, and I dip my fries in their spread.
I go to different restaurants for different items. Like the turkey burger at Burgerville is elite for a fast food burger.
Yeah.
Elite, healthy, locally raised, and that's something I can consume on a regular basis. I love it.
Their fish and chips used to be good too, which
Yes.
I would never
No,
think of ordering.
They're top notch. The only problem is that that's what my daughter likes, and so I'm like, oh great, let me run.
Yeah.
Let me run down to the check cashing place so I can get that for you.
You get a second mortgage on the house.
Always wanted the halibut fish and chip, and now you think about it. I think that's why my mom stopped going to Burgerville.
No, I did. She completed a project this like 2 weeks ago. I think I told you, but she had worked really hard in her homework, and she completed the project. I was happy and proud of her. So I was like, anything you want, what do you want? She goes, fish and chips from Burgerville. I was like, no problem. I went down there, ordered put the order in, went to the checkout line. I was like,